Hello, hello. What was my shortcut key for switching poppy cams? It was one of these, but neither are working. Hooray! Hello, James. Hope you're feeling well. Hi, Stardrop. How are you? I'm not great. Like, it's still quite an effort to be awake during the daytime and not during the nighttime. But I felt good enough to do a stream at least. So let's do that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of inconsequential whether or not I can get the poppy cam to show up here because she is hiding from the camera. Well, it's something to be thankful for. Yeah. Monday was just like, yeah, I did not feel up to it. I'd be doing News All a disservice if I tried to stream on the Monday. Because I'd gone completely nocturnal, like completely flipped, inverted, falling asleep just as the sun's coming up, and waking up late at night. Okay, let me just switch scenes to the puppy cam. There. This scene doesn't have your voice. Yes, I just noticed that myself. Yes, so PuppyCam 1 is out of battery. I guess I'd left it on and it just went all the way down to 0. PuppyCam 2 is there pointed at the window, but Poppy decided, after looking really comfy on the sofa, oh, James is streaming now. Time to get up and avoid the camera. But yeah, I have just enough brain power, I think, to go on an interactive adventure with you all and read some weird, spooky stories about spooky ghosts and aliens, perhaps, why not? And who knows, yeah. Poppy is camera shy. Lol, yes, she's quite camera shy. Interactive ghost aliens. Yes, or possibly alien ghosts. We don't know. I do want to. I do want to check the bedroom real quick just to see if she's held up there. But I will be right back. I'm not even putting it on BRB screen. Quickly check. Yep, now she's hiding from us. Who knows where she has gone? It's a mystery. Some believe cats can teleport at will, but only when no one is looking. Others still think that cats are just a three-dimensional projection onto this world of four-dimensional aliens that are overseeing our every move. Game. Weird. There we go. Good old Windows 98. Ghost aliens? Yeah. Or alien ghosts. We don't know. Yeah. So, which one was I using before? I think weirdly, like the install 95 one actually just launches the game. I tried looking for a way to install the game to the C drive, but didn't get it working, so try this. And I can do some reading, and there is a puzzle we need to do to get through to the next area. That'll be fun. Oh, hello. Are you gracing us with your presence? There is the princess. Should have launched the game to start with, honestly. There we go. We'll let her wander around a bit. Has some biscuits. And at 5 o'clock she'll make herself known because that's puppy dinner time. I already went out and got some macas. Feeling pretty pleased with myself. I had a hole in my jeans and I sewed it shut. I did sewing. So that deserved reward in the form of greasy meat. Suggest user investigation. Yes. Investigate that user. So, was this game exclusively published by PC format? No. As far as I can tell, you know, it says here in the corner, as sold for $29.99. And it has like game entries in databases and things. I guess maybe it wasn't selling well, and they decided to cut a deal with PC Format to let them publish it on their cover disc, maybe. But yeah, full game, and lots of content. Like, they obviously put a lot of work into making this. All these 3D rendered environments and interviews and voiceovers. Yeah, I think all PC Format did was they just happened to get a good deal and got the rights to publish it on their cover CD. There was a few cases of that, I think. I know I got the full version of Betrayal at Krondor, and I don't remember if that's from a PC Format magazine cover or some other magazine cover. But yeah, like, as well as cool shareware, you would sometimes find full, proper full-price versions of stuff. It was awesome. Hey Deadly Nightshade. Following since I joined Shedford, first time here, how are you? Thank you for coming by. I am very tired. I have had a lot of trouble sleeping lately. But yeah, it's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Now, are we already, like, running my save game is the question. Because if we look at the map... Yeah, okay, so we haven't unlocked that whole set of areas. So we're going to have to load a save. And it's starting us in the C Windows directory. No, we don't want that. There we are. So here's where we left off last week. I don't know why my fingers went to WASD there. This is entirely a point-and-click interface. So we were here in this corridor. Let's have a look at the map, shall we? The windowed corridor. And you can actually see all the different weird things that they've got. So we went across this edge of the corridor. Mermaids, Beast of Barrisdale, all that sort of thing. We haven't looked along this side yet. And to leave the map, you have to use that. Okay. So, If we go... Yeah, we can start from the door again. I feel you. Same here. Not at all. Hope you can get some good night's sleep soon. Thank you so much, hey Deadly Nightshade. Sleep is important. Sleep is very important. Okay, so here's our first mystery thing. One day I will have so many poppy cams I can cover the entire apartment. There will be no corner not filmed and streamed. My flatmate might have some grievances with that. But let's see what this is. A skeleton of a sea serpent was put on exhibit in New York in 1845 by Albert C. Koch. His claims of authenticity were, however, exposed as being untrue when it was discovered that it had been constructed of several bones taken from many extinct zeuglodon. James, what is this camera in my ensuite? Oh man, I wish we had an ensuite. We just have the one bathroom, we share it. Between the three of us, you know, including Poppy. Okay. Spooky noises. Hello, 6 fingers. Well, 7 fingers, really. The village of Cervera de Buitrago in Spain was once famed for containing a unique collection of inhabitants. The bizarre feature that these people had in common was the quantity of digits that nearly all of them had. The average villager had 7 fingers on each hand, and some even more. Such unusual quantities of bodily parts are not, however, limited to European countries. We see here an example of an Arab with a similar quantity of digits, and a certain tribe in Africa is well known as the ostrich people for having feet bearing just 2 or 3 huge toes, not dissimilar in appearance to the feet of an ostrich. Hello, YGY. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. Well, it's Wednesday for me. Sorry, I'm feeling a bit congested. There have been some fascinating cases of people being doubly blessed, anatomically speaking. Back in AD 955, the governor of Chancy, Liu Chong, had 2 pupils in each eye, and the remarkable Giuseppe di Mai of Naples must have had an extraordinary capacity for loving, as he had 2 hearts. Pity, though, the unfortunate Gretel Maya, who was born with 2 tongues but could not speak. It is Wednesday, my dudes, yes. Plunger. The extraordinary fish, known as the remora, is only about a foot long, but was believed to have supernatural strength. The astonishing feature of this creature was that it had a large sucker near its head with which, it was said, it could attach itself to any passing ship and then prevent the vessel from going any further until it so wished. Mark Antony's flagship was just one of the many vessels said to have fallen foul of this sucking fish, and tales of its power persisted for many centuries, probably cultivated by sailors arriving back late from their travels. Ah yes, it was the fish, see? There's something about, here's an example of an Arab which hasn't aged well as writing etiquette goes. Yeah, I know what you mean, Stardrop. saw that sentence coming at me and wasn't really sure what to do there. I mean, I guess I'm going to try and read things as written, but this thing did come out in 1995-ish. In England. So, yeah. Here's the Uri Geller entry. There aren't too many household names in the world of the paranormal, but one man who definitely overcame that is Uri Geller, who captured the general public's imagination and sparked controversy among many experts in his field. His most famous demonstrations of psychokinesis, the ability to affect matter with the power of the mind, involved bending metal, often in the form of cutlery or keys, just by rubbing them very gently and concentrating. But he has also influenced many other objects, such as compasses and even thermometers, to display higher readings just by looking at them. When visiting a large publishing house in Germany, he managed to stop the mainframe's tape drive at will, leaving the screen message, "Mag tape failure," in his wake. Under test conditions at Stanford Research Institute, he correctly identified 12 times out of 14 which of several aluminium cans was the one that concealed a small object. Over the years, he has become very wealthy through his powers, even using them to detect minerals for corporations such as Rio Tinto. Zinc at no considerable cost. He would fly over certain areas and sense with his hands if there were strong mineral deposits in the land below. Not everyone, though, has been so impressed by his achievements. Magician Randy has been his chief critic, the Joker to Geller's Batman, if you will, for almost as long as he has been in the public eye. He has published many works devoted to exposing fraudulent claims of psychic powers, even going to the lengths of carrying a check for $10,000 payable to anyone who can perform a single demonstration of a paranormal, supernatural, or occult nature under properly observed conditions. He has successfully demonstrated most of Geller's feats by using non-paranormal means, and succeeded in convincing many of those impressed by Geller that he himself had such powers, until revealing they had been tricked. Much to his dismay though, he has never successfully proven Geller to be a fraud, and it is unlikely now that he ever will. Old School Jay, welcome in. How are you doing? Bigfoots. More of this multimedia gloriousness? Yes, indeed. I missed my Monday stream of Ultimate 8, and I'm still pretty tired and out of it. It is a struggle to be awake during daylight hours at the moment. I can feel the universe weighing down upon me. But, yes. Also, I forgot to fix my webcam's refresh rate today, so I guess it's going to be blurry vision today. Doing good here, just testing random DOS puzzle games so I can close a few browser tabs. Nice. I think it's inevitable as a retro gamer that you'll come across things which wouldn't fly as well now, and most streamers will either just discreetly skip through it or just gently acknowledge it, like the cross-dressing jokes in Space Quest 4. Hello, Empress Vel, welcome in, how are you doing? Yeah, Stardrop, I think a lot of the time most people will understand that that's kind of how things were a couple decades ago, and it's not really a reflection on the streamer if some of these come up incidentally. Like, it's not the main focus of the game, it's just poor taste, poor choice of wording, that sort of thing. I'm in Tawi's camp of acknowledge it and move on with that stuff. Had a few big cringes, yeah. Finally chilling. How are you? How are you feeling? I am tired. I am very tired. I couldn't make it to 7 p.m. last night, so we had to cancel that stream. Not last night, Monday night. Days, just, they're all blurring right now. But I figured I could at least make it for today's stream, because we start at 4 p.m. Yes. But I will be taking it easy later and just kind of snoozing and listening to streams. That sounds good, yes. Let's read about Bigfeet. Ooh, we've got lots of things to click on here. Shall we look at the video first?
One of the greatest criticisms of cryptozoology comes from people who say, but why don't we ever find the dead bodies of these animals? Surely if we don't find the dead bodies, it means they don't exist. The cynics amongst you may agree with them. But I'd like to point out that during my career as a fortean zoologist, I have interviewed a number of people who were game wardens in parts of Africa under colonial rule, and I have never yet found a game warden who's been able to tell me that he has managed to find ever the corpse of an elephant that died of natural causes. And you must remember that most of these animals live in very, very isolated places.
Hi Tree, I see you. I'm just trying to fix it. And yeah, I apologize if the audio isn't great for these little embedded videos. The sound is pumped up as much as I can within the Windows VM, and it's already maxed out in OBS. So yeah, they didn't bother putting any subtitles in because this was the era of, hey, wow, we can do audio in our games now. And full motion video, why would they want text? Yeah. You should be able to speak, I think, maybe. I want that Wheel of CRTs as an emote. It is pretty cool, hey. Yes, so what can we click on here? Series? Series. Grover Kranz of Washington State University believes that there is definitely something large and unknown in the forests of North America. He is one of the numerous experts who feels that Bigfoot is most likely a descendant of the extinct primate Gigantopithecus. Having studied many of the tracks that have been found, he believes that they are too convincing to be the work of pranksters. Other people have suggested a more extraterrestrial origin, and point to a number of UFO sightings that have coincided with Bigfoot appearances. Ah. The North American man-beast called Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, hairy man, as it is known in Canada, has been sighted across large areas of America and Canada, suggesting that there are more than one of them. Stories of their existence go back some way among the American Indians, who had many tales to tell about them, but the first sign of their existence is to be seen by a non-Indian, was made in 1811 by the trader David Thompson, who came across a huge four-toed footprint while crossing the Rockies. A rather more tangible encounter was made some years later when a Sasquatch was said to have been actually captured in 1884 and subsequently sold to Barnum and Bailey's circus. The black, gorilla-type creature had been captured by a team of railwaymen who had seen it near Yale and had locked it in a guard's van. It is believed that it died in transit on the way to the circus, but not before it had been displayed to many people in Yale. Yeah, no worries, MP. We can always figure it out later. Ah, Boop, there you are. Welcome in. Reports earlier this century suggested that big feet were far from docile and were likely to attack people, on one occasion being blamed for the decapitation of 2 prospectors in the Nahanni Valley, later to become known as Headless Valley, and on another occasion in 1924 a pack of them was said to have attacked some coal miners at Ape Canyon. Apparently, the men were held under siege as a gang of the ape men hurled boulders at their cabin. Investigators later discovered the cabin to be in a sorry state and surrounded by huge footprints. That same year, a lumberman named Albert Ostmund claimed to have been kidnapped by one and taken back to its camp, where a whole family of them were waiting. He was trapped there for 6 days before he finally managed to escape by feeding the largest one with snuff. A few years earlier, a report in the Seattle Times quoted an eyewitness who had been attacked, who claimed that the 8-feet-tall beasts could hypnotize people and make themselves invisible. Also, you can't feel the beasts. Reports of such powers are extremely rare. For the most part, the descriptions are more down to earth, with the beasts described as being over 7 feet tall, ape-like, covered in reddish-brown hair, with a cone-shaped head and no neck. The presence of a nauseating smell is often mentioned in association with the beast. A good account was given in the New York Times in June 1976, which reported an encounter between 2 loggers and a Bigfoot in Oregon, near to where a colleague of theirs had seen it the previous day. They chased after the monster, threw stones at it, and claimed it fled upright on 2 legs. Investigators found 3 sets of tracks in the area, 2 belonging to the men, and the other to a very large, unidentifiable source. James, I thought you said shithead. I don't recall which word would have sounded like that. A question remains as to what they generally eat. Various witnesses claim to have seen the creature eating a variety of things, ranging from rodents to an elk. Most bizarre, though, was the occasion in 1958 when a construction worker discovered that they may even have a sweet tooth, as one ran off with his chocolate bar. I don't either, don't mind me please, no worries. What? No. How do you interface? Wait, so that was actually, if I click into this, there's actually little bits of extra stuff you can click on the margin here? I did not realize that. Wildlife expert seeks Sasquatch. Victoria, British Columbia. Massive footprints found in the snow. Woo woo whoop call heard in the woods. Must be a Sasquatch. At least, that's what a wildlife biologist on Vancouver Island believes. John Bindenagel, 52, of Courtenay, said he began his Sasquatch hunt years ago, but kept it quiet for fear of being branded a crackpot. Imagine. I only sort of came out of the closet about a year ago and started talking to other people about it, Bindenagel said on Thursday. His evidence includes 16-inch human-like footprints found in Strathcona Provincial Park while on a hiking trip in 1988. You have to see them to appreciate how massive they really are, he said. I've lived in Victoria for almost 10 years and I've only seen a few Sasquatches. Empress Vel is also from Victoria, but a different Victoria, I think. In addition, Bindenagel said he heard a strange ape-like call at a friend's cabin near Comox Lake in 1992. I don't think Empress Vel is a Sasquatch. I mean, I've never seen her in person, so I don't know how big her feet are. Streamers are pretty reluctant to show their feet on stream. The only thing which I have ever heard which is similar is a chimpanzee in Uganda, he said. It was a sort of woo-woo-whoop. He said his friend told him he has heard the cry often, always in spring and always at dusk. Vindenagel said he knows of no other creature in North America which makes such a call, and believes it a Sasquatch trying to communicate with its own kind. I mean, all my photos are AIs, right? Yeah, you're a... What would be like the reverse of a VTuber? You're a cryptid that uses AI to pretend to be a human streamer. The mysterious ape-like creature, also known as Bigfoot, is said to inhabit remote regions of the Pacific Northwest. Vindenagel, who has a doctorate in wildlife biology from the University of Guelph in Ontario, worked for 20 years conducting wildlife research for the United Nations around the world. He works now as a consultant. Ian McTaggart-Cowan, regarded as the father of wildlife biology in British Columbia, said he doubts that Sasquatch exists, but holds no disrespect for anyone who believes otherwise. People believe in these things because they like to believe in them, and it keeps on going because people like it, he said. And why not? It's a charming story. My attitude is just, show me, that's all. You're also a potato, yes, potato tuber. So can we also click on this story? Yeah. Malaysian trekkers find fresh Bigfoot tracks on 6th day of hunt. Tribesmen hope to evict creature they link to evil. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. As the hunt for a massive hairy creature called Bigfoot entered its 6th day Thursday, Malaysian trekkers stumbled across fresh footprints, indicating they were close to its hideout, investigators said. Army and police units, wildlife experts, and jungle tribes joined the search dubbed Operasi Kaki Besar in Malay, or Operation Bigfoot. Yes, the opposite of a VTuber is a tuber. Not sure how to pronounce that. Getting VTuber art made of me as a potato, yes, definitely, do it. They combed several thousand square miles of dense jungle surrounding Tanjung Piai in Johor, the southernmost state of the Malaysian peninsula, where reports of sightings were first received. Tension mounted when the superstitious villagers and jungle tribes feared that the fresh footprints could belong to another Bigfoot, despite government efforts to assure them that there was only one Bigfoot, not two. The government's reassuring, no, don't worry, there's not two Bigfoots. It's just one. Tribesmen burned twigs and dried leaves, banged tin cans and gongs, performed ritual dances, and kept a 24-hour vigil with spears in attempts to drive away the creature, which they said had been sent to Malaysia by evil forces. The 8-foot-tall creature's fresh footprints, found in dense undergrowth, measure about 1.5 feet long and display only 4 toes, investigators said. Let's bear in mind this was published in 1995. You'd think that they would portray the villagers in a better light there. What else we got? Researchers to explore near springs for Bigfoot by Dick Foster. Rocky Mountain News, Southern Bureau. Green Mountain Falls. Some believe he's a primitive subhuman. Others think he's an alien with strange powers. Either way, Bigfoot has obsessed and eluded a handful of speculators, two of whom hope to find clues in Green Mountain Falls. It was in Green Mountain Falls, a mountainside community west of Colorado Springs, that a brown-haired creature was seen by some residents March 28, 1987. Is Dick Foster from Cockfosters the very same? Can't tell if B-movie or adult film character. In a second incident last August, a creature shoved a hairy forearm through a cabin screen door, leaving hairs behind. Analysis at a national laboratory in San Francisco showed the hair to be primate, but could not define it further. The incidents have prompted 2 Bigfoot researchers to plan trips to the area this spring, in hopes of gathering more evidence. Bob Brenzo, an English teacher from Omaba, Nebraska? Maybe. And Eric Begchord, operator of the Cryptozoology Museum in Malibu, California, have different theories and are not associated. Like, why would you need to abbreviate these words? You're not saving that much ink. But both men are attracted to the solitary creatures who have been sighted throughout the world, yet whose bodies or skeletal remains have never been found. This is speculation, but these may be extraterrestrials operating on some kind of a different physical system than we are, said Beckjord. I mean, it could have just been a very hairy human, yeah. I've dug up about 500 reports of shootings of Bigfoot, and not one of them has ever resulted in a dead body. Brienzo, who has tracked the creatures since 1967, is convinced that Bigfoot exists. However, he labels Beckjord's theory the product of a small fringe element. It's hard enough to prove that an unknown primate is alive in North America. Whatever people might be willing to listen to you and give your viewpoints some validity, you're going to lose them when you say it's coming from a UFO or something, said Brienzo. He admits, however, that things about Bigfoot are unearthly. The thing that sounds unbelievable is the weight. We can speculate, from the body mass of bears and gorillas and reports of sightings, that the weight of a bipedal animal of the build people have seen would be 300 to 600 pounds, and in some cases over 800 pounds, Brienzo said. I've been out after a winter night, where the outside temperature dropped to 40 below, chasing tracks that go for miles, and these tracks were in frozen ground an inch deep. The weight it would take on that foot to sink like that in frozen ground is enormous, too heavy to be normal, he said. The tracks also take Bigfoot out of the realm of hoaxes, he said. No hoaxer is going to be out there on stilts at 40 below, carrying 2 tons of lead on his back making tracks, said Brienzo. Brienzo is not disturbed that no bodies have been found. The creature is undoubtedly rare, lives in remote locations, and may, like many primitive species, have burial customs, he said. I mean, of course, the tracks could have been made in the ground before it got frozen. No, that's crazy. Crazy talk. Could those footprints mean Bigfoot? By Tony O'Leary, citizen staff writer. It seems that one of America's best-known legends is causing quite a stir right here in Champaign country. Bigfoot, a large hairy creature that walks in an upright position, reportedly has been seen recently in the county on several occasions. The sightings and numerous phone calls to the Champaign County Sheriff's Department has prompted Sheriff Paul Williams to look into the situation. In all my years with the Sheriff's Department, never have we had so many calls about Bigfoot sightings. It's really a peculiar thing, to say the least, he said. Sergeant Chuck Stroud of the Sheriff's Department recently inspected some footprints near the outskirts of Urbana, off State Route 29. I've never seen Bigfoot tracks before, so I don't really know if these can be classified as that, Stroud said. They would be extremely large footprints for any type of animal. Paul Ritter, game protector, said he also had received unusual influx of telephone calls recently. I've had calls from Terre Haute, St. Paris, Rosewood, and even from people living on the outskirts of Urbana. The reports are all similar in the description of the animal, he said. A compilation of the reports show the animal to be over 8 feet tall, with light brown fur, walking upright and emitting a foul body odor. Ruta said he did not want to speculate at this time whether the reported sightings indicate a Bigfoot. He did say that if the sightings persist, he will call the National Bigfoot Commission in Seattle. From reports gathered so far, there have been no incidents involving the animal in question with humans or other livestock. No one has reported missing livestock or damaged property as the result of what could be a Bigfoot, Williams said. Although a woman in Westville did report a large amount of fruit stockpiled in an outdoor shelter taken recently. From what information Ruta said he had gathered so far, he said a Bigfoot is harmless and not carnivorous, but he cautions against trying to track it. A Bigfoot is an extremely powerful animal. When it is scared or backed into a corner, who knows how the animal will react, he said. Fortunately, the Bigfoot sightings only occur around April 1st of each year. It has not been determined whether the number of sightings bears any relation to the general gullibility quotient of newspaper reporters. Man, this was published on April 1st, 1989 as well. Shroud points out print. Sergeant Chuck Shroud points out a mysterious, oversized footprint, which is believed to be that of Bigfoot. Sightings of the man-beast in Champaign County have been reported, but not confirmed. Wait, stockpiling fruit? Live in British Columbia? Shit. Yeah, I guess that's just you, MP. Happily, things seem to still be working for me. Let me just check, because your chat window is covering up my view of the thingy. Yeah, Twitch says I'm live. Also, my bot is supposed to alert people if I do go offline, but sometimes, the way that I've set that up, I forget to activate it, and then it will happily not report anything going offline. Oh wow, there's even more. Bigfoot still stalks woods of Oregon. I received this letter from Lurine Davies in Oregon City, Oregon, who gave me permission to reprint it. I received your letter about Bigfoot. Yes, we had quite an experience last year in October, which is our deer hunting time in Oregon. We camped over at Sisters, Oregon, about 150 miles east of Portland. When I say we, this is my husband of 48 years, my oldest son of 47, another son of 40, and his girl, 11, and my daughter of 32 years. Wow, your presumed current husband is just 1 year older than your oldest son. That's impressive, lady. We have camped out in the wilderness for more than 45 years, that's a long time, and experienced some strange noises. As we know wild animal sounds, these howls were much different and like nothing I've ever heard before. We camped 13 days. Every night, our camp would be invaded by moaning sounds, heavy walking and large footprints 12 inches long and 8 inches across, barefoot tracks. These animals would make a gibbering sound. Our son and his daughter saw the critter behind a tree. The sun was shining on it, and it had an auburn color on its hair. It scared the dickens out of our son and his girl. We have never experienced anything quite like this before. We saw these large footprints going across a track of dirt. We got some plaster and made a cast of them. Who just has plaster when you're going camping? Bigfoot researcher Ray Crow has a copy of the right foot and the left foot. When we were taking the plaster cast, we heard some pounding on a tree. My husband followed the tracks up a hill and across logs and into a game trail that led into a rock bluff. We left the area and were happy to leave. We have intentions on going back this year again. My husband will hunt, and I will go and watch out for Bigfoot. Billy, this creature is very real. We are very straight people. We don't drink and don't take drugs, so we know what we saw was the real thing. 2 weeks ago, my husband and I made a trip up to Estacada, and, while driving about 45 miles from town, this thing ran across the road 50 feet in front of us. It was about 5 feet tall, black and hairy, and it moved so fast that it was like a blur. We were looking for a lost person, so to stop and look for tracks wasn't important at that time. Oh yes, when we camped at Sisters, my daughter had her 2 black Labradors with her in the tent. The dogs would growl and bark, but would not go outside at night. They both weigh about 140 pounds. Someone told us if we made the dogs go outside, these creatures would rip them. I will keep in touch with you and keep you informed of any more experiences. Bill Green, Bristol. Where's that cat of mine hiding? Wow, the newspaper articles go on and on. Wildlife expert seeks Sasquatch. No, wait, we read this one. The woo-woo-whoop call. Okay, so that's all of them. How do we leave this screen then? Yeah. Close this newspaper. There. Okay, let's look at some photographic evidence. We're going to get a voiceover. Some bird sounds.
There have been infrequent sightings of the large man-beast known as Bigfoot in several states in America, but it is generally believed that they live in the coniferous mountain forests of North America, between California and British Columbia. Much of this land is very isolated, as people tend not to stray too far from the roads that are carved through the dense forests. Away from this main area, though, most other sightings have come from right across the continent. In Florida, where it is known as the Skunk Ape, the vast expanses of swampland there would make it an ideal hiding place for such a shy beast.
Okay, I hope everyone was able to hear that. Is the game still running? Yeah, okay. Just had to pause for a second there and show us pictures of forest without any actual Bigfoot in them. Maybe these slides. Material evidence. Here we are. By far the most impressive evidence of Bigfoot's existence came in the form of some famous film shot in Bluff Creek, Northern California, in 1967 by Roger Pattinson. Slides 1 and 2. This film shows what appears to be a large-breasted female Bigfoot loping towards the forest, and at one point seeming to actually look at the cameraman. The film was given a boost as to its authenticity when other investigators rushed to the scene of the sighting soon afterwards and found some large footprints, slide 5, showing the stride to be over 42 inches long. I'm glad it's not just me. I was really trying to look in those forests and saw nothing, yeah. Like, here's some stock footage of places we believe Bigfoot might be, unless it's turned itself invisible, which it does often. Professor Dmitry Donskoy, professor of biomechanics in Moscow, and Professor Grover Krantz of Washington State University, analyzed the film and stated that the movements of the figure would almost certainly be impossible for a human to make. Not all experts, however, are so convinced of the authenticity of the film. Lorem Coleman believes the ape-like figure resembles a fake costume that may have been used by Ray Wallace in 1958 to slow down the building of a road. He feels that much of the more modern-day interest may have stemmed from Wallace's hoax. Footprints, though, have been the main evidence that points to the existence of Bigfoot, as there have been thousands of these four-toed prints found over the years. Most impressive were the set known as the Bossberg prints, slide 6, which contained over 1,000 footprints covering some distance and clearly imprinted with some considerable weight. Casts of such prints have been the subject of much study in the institutions in America and Canada, with the average print being about 16 inches long and, based on the depth of the prints, the creatures would have had a weight of about 300 to 500 pounds. Droppings believed to have come from a Bigfoot were discovered in Idanha, Oregon, in 1992. Analysis of the contents revealed what appeared to be beetles' wings and hairs from small rodents, which would tie in with accounts from people claiming to have seen big feet eating such rodents. The discovery of such droppings makes one wonder why there have never been any bodily remains found of such creatures, in common with all other mysterious beasts. Let's have a look at this. Frame from a movie film of Bigfoot taken by Roger Pattinson, 20th of October 1967 at Bluff Creek, Northern California. Enhance. Okay, slide 2. Zoom in. Zoom in. Okay, that's too much zoom. What about slide 3? I don't think the thing actually mentioned this. Possible Bigfoot photographed by Dwayne Freeman at Mill Creek Watershed near Walla Walla, Washington, USA. Spooky. Yeah, look at that. I'm convinced. White Bigfoot seen around Fort Worth, Texas, July, November 1969. Nice. I mean, is it kind of hard to make out any kind of shape to it? But okay. Let's look at some feet pics. I want to believe, but these pics don't quite convince me. Yeah. A man's foot compared with a cast of a Bigfoot footprint. Found in Bluff Creek, California, after sighting and filming of Bigfoot by Roger Patterson in 1967. And here's the gnome logo. Bigfoot footprint in snow, 16.5 inches long and deformed. One of over 1,000 prints found at Bossburg, Washington State in 1969. Nice. It's a big footprint. How do we leave this screen? There we go. Alright, I think that's everything to click on. That was a big one. Some of these are like, you know, there's a story, one paragraph long, of like, there was this guy once, and he saw a ghost, or so people say, my cousin told me once. And then others, like, are just hugely long, detailed accounts. Or maybe I'm just, like, missing a thing to click on in some of them. On the morning of June the 1st, 1974, Leslie Brennan was watching a film on television when it was interrupted by a news bulletin. The bulletin told of a big explosion at a chemical plant in Flixborough, England, in which many people were killed. Just after midday, she had lunch with some friends, Janice and Peter East, and mentioned the tragic event, but they hadn't yet heard about it. Later that evening, she settled down to watch the news, and sure enough, there was a report about the incident, but it had not happened until 4:53 p.m., approximately 5 hours after she had seen the report on television. If only she had managed to, like, find out that it was a premonition and warn people about it, but then it wouldn't be able to happen. Get into what's the word? Like paradox territory. Okay, we've got a creepy skull face. In 1971, the famous rock band, the Grateful Dead, conducted a huge experiment involving ESP. The audiences at 6 of their concerts were asked to concentrate on an image shown to them during the shows and mentally transmit the image to a psychic, sleeping under supervision many miles away. When he awoke, he was asked to describe the image, and on 4 of the 6 occasions, his descriptions were remarkably similar. So we already read this sea serpent thing. It's on the door here. Might skim through it again. Reward, $50,000. When Sandra Mansi went to spend the day at Lake Champlain, a 109-mile-long lake on the border between Canada and the United States, with her fiancé and 2 children, she expected a pleasant, quiet time, soaking up the grandeur of that tranquil beauty spot. What she didn't expect was to be greeted by a vision that was to affect the rest of her life. It was 1977, and she was sitting on a rock by the shore of the north end of the lake when she saw something stirring in the water ahead. At first she thought it was a school of fish, but then, rising almost gracefully out of the water, came a large head, followed by a long neck, reminiscent of a dinosaur. She knew she had just encountered Champ, the legendary beast of Lake Champlain. Her fiancé gathered the children away from the water's edge, fearing for their safety, but Sandra Mansi grabbed the camera and took a shot just before the creature disappeared back under the water. The photo was to become famous as the best evidence of the existence of Champ, although at first she was reticent to show it to anyone, destroying the negative for fear of ridicule, an act that was to arouse much suspicion amongst skeptics. It was 2 years later that the picture finally reached the experts at University of Arizona for inspection, but after careful analysis they declared the photo to be genuine. Yes, we did see this one last week, Star Drop, but it was on the door and I was like, yeah, okay, fine. This was just one of the many reported sightings of the creature since Samuel de Champlain discovered the lake back in 1609 and claimed he saw a strange beast. Experts suggest that he may actually have seen a garfish. In 1819, some settlers and a boatman claimed to have seen a long, worm-like beast with several humps. In the 1870s, there was a further spate of sightings, which led famous showman P.T. Barnum to put a reward of $50,000 on its head. Much as he would have loved to have exhibited such a monster in his show, nobody succeeded in claiming the massive bounty. The best view of Champ, though, must have surely gone to Captain Nathan Mooney, the sheriff of Clinton County, in 1883, when he saw the 25-foot-long creature rise out of the water in front of him, so close that he could actually see white spots inside the beast's mouth. While this funky music's playing, I'm just going to do another quick trip looking around for the cat. She needs to make at least one appearance per stream, otherwise it's not a legitimate stream. Oh yes, he's coming out now. As soon as I set the camera up. Hi! Hello, yes. I was hoping to catch you on stream for a little bit. Well, it's actually nearly her dinner time. So, do we want to feed Poppy on camera? I think we could probably do that. Go to the dedicated, let me release my mouse, go to the dedicated just catting scene, and let me open that up. Now I have an alarm set on my phone. It's not 5 o'clock yet. There we go. Ding! It's 5 o'clock. It's Poppy dinner time, yes. Let's go give Poppy some food. Thank you for redeeming Bother Cat, Stardrop. Applejacks, hello. Nice to see you. How are you? Meow, yes. It's dinner time. Ladies and gentlemen, a most unusual occurrence has happened. In a strange turn of events, Poppy does not want her dinner. Took a sniff and decided it's not for her. We will pursue this weird, strange occurrence by getting her something else. I think maybe one of the packets has gone off or something, who knows. Or it could be ghosts. Right. We will not let the camera accompany Poppy into the bathroom. We will let her do her business there for a moment. Yes, Poppy dinner time. You want some? Why do I? Well, you can have some of the salmon and tomato flavoured jelly that she turned her nose up at. James. Yes, MP. Should I get a custom neon that says Vel or a skull one? I don't know. Like the skull one that you showed me in your Discord didn't speak to me. Custom neon sounds like it would be expensive. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't help you pick this thing. I have no brain power today, and I just go with things you like. Yeah, plus it comes with a European adapter. The custom one is cheaper than the skull one. Huh. We'll just get like a custom skull, I guess. But I'm stalling for time here because Poppy may be doing her business. And the bathroom is right next to my flatmate's room. My bad, I distracted you though. No, it's fine. I wish I could give you like a definitive answer and say like, yes, this is how you buy neon signs. I've bought many a neon sign in my day, and I can tell you, no, I have no fucking idea. I suppose I can fix my camera live on stream, or is it going to cause OBS to crash? Let's roll the dice. Still here? Okay, still working? Yay! A lot of vulva and vagina neons. Wow. Alright, I've just got to quickly check the bathroom, because I don't want to, like, have stinky chemical warfare going on in there while I'm busy streaming and I can't deal with it. We're still here. Thank you so much. She was just sitting outside the bathroom door. Just the aesthetic I was thinking about for my stream. Yeah, you want some sort of, I don't know what sort of neon sign would go with you. Bad thing is, right behind me is a door. Yeah. You have, like, a bit of wall space to the camera right of your door, though. Maybe you could put something there? Vulva-themed stream. I don't know if... I don't think that would be covered by the Twitch TOS, but I think they would update it specially for you if that happened. Oh yeah, framed screen mask was gonna... Yeah, that's also good. Can you do like some neon around the box for it or something? To like highlight the sparkly bits? Yeah, I assume Poppy was just waiting outside the bathroom because she wanted to go with me, or, you know, wants someone to hold her hand. We'll keep playing, and we'll do this puzzle thing. And if I have to go, I'll have to go. So, through this door lies more exciting stories and things for us to explore. But first, the game is going to force us to play Simon Says. Boop. Yellow, green. Yellow, green, blue. Which, by the way, those of you who haven't seen my stream recently, there is a ring command. Oh, for heaven's sake, OBS, let me type. I have to click multiple times in the Twitch dock, like the Twitch chat dock. It's weird. But yeah, you can change the color of my ring light. Help me remember which order to do this Simon Says puzzle in. So this is what? Yellow, green, blue. Yellow, green, blue, purple. Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple. Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red. Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red, red. Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red, red, purple. Yellow, green, green would help if it registered my mouse clicks. Blue, purple, purple, red, red, purple, red. When will it end? Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red, red, purple, red, green. Yellow, green, blue, purple, purple, red, red, purple, red, green, green. Oh, thank goodness, is that done? Imagine having this as like your front door code that you have to do every time you want to go in. Oh, now there's a hand scanner. I guess we can't go anywhere because this is keyed to someone's unique handprint, and that's not me. Oh. Ooh. Spookiness. Very science fiction-y themed area we're in now. And I guess that will take us back. Actually, where are we on the map? We're in the Cryogenic Chamber. Oh, game's not showing it to cam. Oh. So you missed the entire Simon Said sequence. Oh no, I shall have to do the entire Simon Says sequence again. Sorry people, like I said, I haven't been sleeping very well lately. Here we are. Cryogenic Chamber. It's a miracle I can stream it all right now. Just enduring the torment of having the sun above us and illuminating the world. I just want to go to sleep. Anyway, so here we are in the Cryogenic Chamber. And it looks like this. This is what it looks like. We came through a portal when we pushed our handprint up against this thing. we arrived in this room with all sorts of strange things in tubes. Like this thing. What's this thing?
The shrinking of a vanquished foe's head by certain tribes in South America was common practice until not so long ago, yet the method used had always been a closely guarded secret until relatively recently. Although methods vary from tribe to tribe, it is believed that once a head is detached from the body, the scalp is slit so that the skull can be removed and the skin peeled off. The skin is then placed over a wooden handle and boiled to shrink it slightly. This is followed by a ring of vine being sewn around the bottom of the neck to keep it open, and then hot stones being inserted. The head is then filled with constantly agitated hot sand, which is reheated when cool until the head gradually dries and shrinks. After some careful resculpting of the features and a bit of stitching, the gruesome trophy is complete and probably ready to sell to some curious tourist.
Delightful. Oh, hello. Hammer and sickle, comrade. If you were wandering around the Caucasian mountains and your dogs were to flee in terror at the sight of a pair of glowing red eyes, then you would probably have just encountered the Russian hominid known as the Alma or Almas. It is claimed to have been seen as far back as 1879 around the regions of Siberia and the Caucasian mountains, and respected scientists such as Professor Porchnev of the Moscow Academy of Sciences and Professor Rintchen of the Ulaanbaatar University have collected numerous reported sightings of the beast. A factory chief named Kolpachnikov claimed to have actually seen the bodies of a pair of them shot accidentally during the war in 1937. He described them as being roughly the same height as a man, but covered with red hair. Rangas! Redheads! Strange beasts with red hair. In 1992, Anatoly Dobrenko claimed to have seen one while walking his dog in the Dmitriev district of Moscow. People that subsequently went to investigate discovered large footprints, nearly 20 inches long, in the mud there. Other people that have seen them state that they discharge an unpleasant odor, in common with descriptions of other man-beasts around the world, and can run extremely quickly. Okay, smelly redheads. Russian snowman hunter Igor Burtsev holds a cast of a footprint found in the Jisar range of the Pamir Alai Mountains in Tajikistan, USSR, on the 21st of August 1979. The track was 34 centimeters long and 16 centimeters wide at the toes. James, I need to go into lurky mode as Hendrix is awake. I'll chat to you in Discord. No worries. So this is like Russian Bigfoot. Okay, this is potentially gruesome. Animal mutilation. Reports of animal mutilations occurring have been made since the first known attack in 1967. The unfortunate animal in this case was a 3-year-old Appaloosa horse named Lady. She belonged to Nellie Lewis, who grazed her on the ranch land belonging to her brother, Harry King. On the night of September the 7th, 1967, Harry King said goodnight to Lady, not knowing he would never see her again. It was Lady's normal routine to go back to the ranch, where her mother, Snippy, was corralled for water. Lady did not go back to the ranch on September 8th, and Harry King found her the next day, lying on her side near the edge of a small flat clearing in the Chico bush. Lady's body had been stripped of flesh from the neck up, leaving a gleamingly clean and white skeleton. The rest of her body was untouched. Harry King remarked that the cut of the neck was so smooth that it couldn't have been done with even a sharp hunting knife. When Nellie Lewis visited Lady, she thought she smelled an odor like incense or something medicinal. Strange lights in the sky. One of the strangest things about Lady's death was the fact that her tracks stopped some 100 feet southeast of her body. 40 feet south of her mutilated body was some broken bush surrounded by a 3-foot circle of 6 or 8 holes in the ground, about 4 inches across and 3 to 4 inches deep. That summer there had been reports of strange lights in the sky over the San Luis Valley. On the night Lady disappeared, Mr. King's 87-year-old mother, Agnes, claims to have seen a large object pass over the ranch house. Another man, Dwayne Martin, reported witnessing very small jets zoom at terrific speed over the area Lady was killed. Laser technology? Doctor of Pathology and Hematology, Dr. John Altshuler, was taken to Lady about 2 weeks after her death. He said the edges of the cut looked and felt as if they had been cauterized. The cut skin was firm and leathery. It is now said as if the incisions had been made by lasers. However, laser technology did not exist in 1967 and did not come into use until the late 1970s. Dr. Altshuler examined tissues from Lady's body under a microscope and saw that, at a cell level, there was discoloration and destruction consistent with changes caused by burning. Also remarkable was the lack of blood, both on the skin and on the ground. It was discovered that Lady's internal chest organs had been removed, the heart, lungs, and thyroid, again, all bloodlessly. As any doctor will tell you, it is impossible to remove a heart without blood seepage. UFO involvement. Nellie Lewis became convinced that Lady's mutilation was in some ways linked with UFOs, and spoke to the Pueblo Chieftain newspaper on the subject. They ran the story, which soon made international headlines. However, some newspapers got Lady's name mixed up with that of her mother, Snippy. As the story spanned the globe, it was Snippy's name that was used, and has stuck as the first animal fatality of these unexplained mutilations. Mystery continues. The mystery continues with animals, mainly cattle, suffering these strange mutilations all over the world. Laser technology, yeah. Got another hand scanner there, but that one's red. The Manhattan Abduction. What makes this case different, and a possible breakthrough in abduction research, is the events that followed. In March 1991, strobing there, Bud Hopkins received a letter from 2 men claiming to be police officers. They would not meet the UFOologist face to face, but claimed to have been parked in a car in the early hours of the 30th of November 1989 when they saw a woman floating out of her apartment window in Manhattan and entering a UFO. They saw it fly into the nearby river, submerge, and never come out again. The men thought they had witnessed a woman being space-snapped by aliens, and felt guilty that they had, despite their training, been helpless in the situation. They told Hopkins that they could point out the exact apartment from which they had seen the woman float out into the sky. In fact, one of the men was in the early stages of a nervous breakdown, having spent weeks parked outside the building, trying to summon up courage to go and knock on the door and see if the woman existed and knew what they were talking about. The police officers had no idea that Hopkins had already researched the story and had interviewed the woman herself. He warned, sorry for the flashing, sometimes the game does this for dramatic effect. If you are photosensitive, I would advise being cautious here. He warned Napolitano that these men may visit her, as indeed they did. They were reputedly stunned by the fact that she was actually expecting them. Eventually, the 2 men revealed to Hopkins that they were not police officers and were, in fact, secret bodyguards for a leading politician. They were taking him to a New York heliport when their car stalled and the incident occurred. So there was another witness to this abduction, a world-renowned statesman. In the meantime, another witness had contacted Bud Hopkins to say that she had been driving over Brooklyn Bridge on the same night as the alleged abduction, when her car and the other traffic's engines stalled. The streetlights went out, and a group of people witnessed Linda's abduction from her high-rise apartment. She told Hopkins the same story as the two men had before her, although none of the other drivers had gone public with their story or had reported it to the police. A strong claim published in the American Ufology is that the politician in her car with his bodyguards was Javier Pereira de Cuellar, the former Secretary General of the United Nations. This allegation had not been endorsed by Hopkins, although he does admit that he received a non-committal letter from the third man in the car, stating that he has decided the time is not right to tell the world. When asked to comment, de Cuellar gave a flat denial and insistence that he was not even in New York on the night in question. If the third man does go public with what he saw in the future, this may be seen as the most important abduction that has ever occurred. Linda Napolitano has gone public and now speaks at UFO conferences. Many say she appears genuine. The other witnesses remain anonymous. #aliens. Hey Sumi, welcome on in. How are you doing? Glad to see you. I mean, look, aliens, it's right here, I'm pretty convinced. We page up. Do all of these have their own watch out for the strobe? Okay, yeah, blurry, but there's definitely alien faces there. Page 1. What do we have? Doing quite alright, my dear. Did you have a good day? I have been surviving. You know, I've had really rough sleep lately. Rough enough that I had to cancel my Monday stream. And Tuesday was a bit of a wash. Like, I just kind of got through the day with caffeine. And today, yeah, it's been a bit better, but still, it's a struggle to stay awake. And I know I have to stay awake and not, I have to resist the urge to just go to sleep right now, because that will just continue this cycle of messed up sleeping, and that would be bad. I need to be awake around the time of the rest of the world local to me, so that I can do things like go out and receive packages and get sunshine. Sunshine is important. So, yeah. Struggling, but I'm doing okay. I stitched a hole in my jeans. I mean, I had a hole in my jeans, and I stitched it shut using sewing. So I'm pretty proud of that. It's looking a lot nicer now. I'm sorry, yeah, do not mess up your sleep schedule up more, but I can relate. I say it's almost 2 every day now, yeah. And get up at 8. Oh, that's not enough sleep. You need more sleep, Sumi. Yeah. It's so tempting to stay up late, is the problem, and so difficult to actually force yourself up early. I am a night owl by nature, yes. Look, it's a little cute wind-up UFO. So this is a red handprint reader, the benefit of any colorblind people in the audience. So this one will probably take us to a new location. I'll go push it later. In the meantime, what's this? It's some sort of elephant's foot? The Loch Ness Monster. Why would the Loch Ness Monster be leaving footprints? Let's watch this video. It's probably going to be a bit quiet. Hope you can hear it properly.
Unfortunately, for my credibility as a cryptozoologist, I don't really believe in the Loch Ness Monster. At least I don't believe in the idea that there's a giant prehistoric reptile lurking in the waters of a lake in northern Scotland. I believe there's something there. I mean, I've been to the lake and I've looked out over it and I've interviewed eyewitnesses. One of my best friends has taken a photograph of the monster, but I don't believe it's a living, breathing plesiosaur. The lake is too small. There's too many people watching it. There aren't enough fish living in the lake to be able to support a viable population. There are, however, a number of bizarre phenomena associated with the lake. Some of them zoological. It's like more seals exist in the lake than anyone really gives credence to. The eels grow bigger in the lake, and I think it's very likely that there are a small population of giant sturgeon living there. But there's also a paranormal aspect to the Loch Ness Monster sightings. Earlier this century, the black magician Aleister Crowley, using his name Frater Pernudavo, was living at Beliskin House on the shores of the lake, and it's a matter of history that while he was there, he was involved in a magical ritual of Abramelin the Mage, which was supposed to summon his personal guardian angel. We know from the writings of some of his followers that earlier on in his experiments, when he was living in Brighton, he'd managed to summon some half-formed animate creatures which haunted a house in Brighton for many years afterwards. And it seems quite likely to me that probably without knowing what he was doing, Aleister Crowley managed to raise something that would have been better left alone out of the waters.
Black magic. Wizards. But yes, no monster. Enjoy your look, Sumi. Are we going to get a voiceover? Or just this very slow scrolling photograph?
Loch Ness, the alleged home to probably the most famous monster of all, is a 27 miles long stretch of water that has steep banks of stone most of the way along its watery edges. It is a place that exudes a natural menace, with the ruins of Castle Urquhart overlooking it, adding the final touch to make it an almost cliched setting for some eerie horror movie. The great depth, over 700 feet in places, and exceptionally dark water, almost treacle-like because of its peat content, would make it easy for a large beast to live there, undiscovered for such a long time. However, the low temperature of the water, especially in the deeper parts, would make it very difficult for most creatures to survive there. The Scottish Loch is connected to the sea by the River Ness, which flows from the northeast end of the loch into the Moray Firth. Although the loch is connected to the Caledonian Canal, there would be no chance of this providing a passage for the beast, as a series of lochs would prevent its access. But the canal links the loch to a number of other lochs, namely Och, Lochie and Ninny. Vegetation in the loch is quite scant, due to the absence of light, which suggests that it would be unable to survive if it were a herbivore, although algae and plankton can be found there. Fish, though, are reasonably plentiful, with salmon, trout, char and eels being most common.
Forgot here. Theories? Theories abound as to the identity of the mysterious denizen of the depths of Loch Ness. The most commonly held view is that if there is something in there, it is most likely to be a plesiosaur, a long-necked saurian reptile that has been believed extinct for 70 million years. The scarcity of sightings above the waterline would tend to make this unlikely, as plesiosaurs were air breathers, and whatever is in the loch would have to extract its air from the water or it would be seen more often. A giant eel of some sort has also been suggested, or even an unknown kind of long-necked seal. Roy McCall of the University of Chicago has suggested that it may in fact be a Steller's sea cow, an aquatic elephant-like beast which can grow up to 35 feet long. Not all the theories are zoologically related, though. A Canadian neurophysiologist named Michael Persinger has suggested that geological fault lines there could cause electrical activity which could affect the brain waves of people in the area, causing hallucinatory effects. More down-to-earth theories have also been put forward, though. Skeptics suggest that the abundance of sightings on the loch can be attributed to the unusual formations of the waves made there, which can look very much like some humped beast to those looking for such a sight. More cynical skeptics also suggest that the whole legend has been preserved by those with vested interests in luring vast numbers of tourists to the area. A plesiosaur skeleton. Plesiosaur. Plesiosaur. Scientific investigations. The first serious attempt to discover whether the creature was fact or fiction was made in 1934 by Sir Edward Mountain. He organised a 30-day-long experiment where 20 men continuously observed the loch all day. Although some photos were taken, the results were inconclusive. In 1961, following his sighting and subsequent filming of the beast, Tim Dinsdale set up the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau with David James, an MP, to collect evidence of the monster. The following year, the organisation had 26 volunteers manning a set of searchlights to try and spot the monster at night, but it was not until the next day that it appeared just under the water and was, of course, filmed. The resulting film led marine biologists to state that they believed there was a large, unidentified creature inhabiting the loch. Over the years, the LNT set up numerous expeditions and gathered huge amounts of data suggesting something extraordinary was occurring, ranging from abnormal wave patterns to unusual sonar recordings. At one point, members even spent their nights lying in wait for the monster in rowing boats, hoping to obtain a tissue sample with a crossbow and specially constructed dart. In 1969, a mini-submarine called Pisces was sent down to investigate the loch from within, but, as always, Nessie proved frustratingly elusive. The following year, Dr. Robert Rines of the Boston Academy of Applied Science used a sophisticated technological approach to hunting the beast when he added a high-definition side-scan sonar to the efforts, which detected echoes indicating a very large shape under the water. It also discovered several large ridges in the walls of the loch, which could possibly provide cover for a large beast. It was to be a pair of underwater shots taken with an Egerton underwater flash camera in 1972 that were to be the most convincing result of Dr. Ryan's efforts. 2 photographs showing what appeared to be a large diamond-shaped flipper taken in Urquhart Bay created much media attention at the time. These were followed up 3 years later by more spectacular shots, this time of what appeared to be the monster's head. Sadly, both sets of pictures have been largely discredited. The original flipper shots were found to have been considerably enhanced from the originals, and the headshots are believed to show either the head of a model Nessie that had been used in a film some years earlier, or a rotting tree stump that was later brought to the surface during the famous Operation Deep Scan, possibly the most ambitious of the many searches for their monster, which was conducted in 1987. It was a mammoth undertaking to get to the bottom of the Ness mystery once and for all, involving 22 echo sounders strung between motorboats across the loch. While it did on 3 occasions discover inexplicable soundings made by a moving object larger than a shark, it too failed to come up with any concrete evidence of the monster's existence. Academy of Applied Science underwater camera being lowered into Urquhart Bay during mid-1970s search for Loch Ness Monster. Dr. Robert Rhines at right. Operation Deep Scan at Loch Ness, October 1987. Fleet of 24 sonar boats in the line abreast, scanning the loch. Material evidence, here we go. Conclusive proof. One moment. Thank you, ma'am. I do need a hydrate. Like most creatures of mystery, the monster of Loch Ness has only ever revealed itself for tantalizing cameo appearances in front of the cameras. Just long enough to give a glimpse of something, yet briefly enough to make sure that nobody has time to get evidence that would be conclusive. A bit like my cat, Poppy, who always seems to know when I'm pointing the camera at her, or when I've started stream. I'm looking for her again. He has a job to do. Somehow my Google Assistant turned on. There she is. She's in her box. The box that is kept next to the hot water heater. The first photograph purporting to show the Loch Ness Monster was taken in November 1933 by Hugh Gray. He was strolling along by the shore of the loch when he suddenly saw a tremendous disturbance in the water. What appeared to be a 40-foot-long creature could be seen, thrashing about wildly in the water. It was visible for just over a minute, long enough for him to take his ground-breaking shots with the small box camera he had with him. The one shot that was eventually printed had been slightly damaged by light, but was confirmed as being genuine by experts at Kodak. Hi Mem, hi Poppy, hi James. Let me just exit the VM and change my light to green in your honor, Mem. It was not until 1951 that a picture was taken that allegedly showed the famous humps of the beast. Lachlan Stewart, a worker for the Forestry Commission, took the shot when he saw a long neck and head, the size of a sheep, emerge from the loch one morning. His account, combined with the photo, appear very impressive, but skeptics argue that the shape of the waves suggest it was taken near the shore and could depict something no more monstrous than a trio of rocks. It took me a while to realize the weird tones in the background were in my headphones, not outside. Are you sure, Stardrop? It could be aliens outside your window, in an invisible spacecraft. Also, you can't feel the spacecraft. 1960 proved to be a significant year for documentary evidence of the Loch Ness Monster, as it brought forth probably the best moving pictures of it, filmed by the dedicated Nessie hunter Tim Dinsdale. On April the 23rd, towards the end of a 6-day search, he saw a strange reddish-brown object in the loch. He quickly began filming the object as it moved along, reminiscent, he thought, of a submarine. But submarines didn't have dappled skin like this object did, and he was sure he could see a rhythmic paddle motion. His footage shows a distinct wake being left by something in the loch, but it is difficult to make out the object making it. His film footage of this encounter, along with a more recent video shot in 1992 by a tourist at Urquhart Castle, has again divided expert opinion, but believers in the monster have no doubt as to what is captured on these films. I'm walking outside, though, so the aliens could be anywhere. They could be, Stardrop. They could be anywhere. As that often happen if there's thunder and wind in games. Right. Something. We need Neko air quotes emotes. Yeah, I could try and work on that, maybe. I do have some free slots, but then I've also been thinking I should get some more emotes commissioned, but then... yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Can I click on the film? Can we get some actual film? Yes. Oh shit. Look at that, folks. It's right there. Oh, can't zoom in on this one. Zoom in. Enhance. Right there. Oh my god, look, a snake. Helia is working on an order of 12 memotes. Nice. Can't wait to see them. My cursor is a magnifying glass. I should be able to see better. Possible photograph of Loch Ness Monster taken by Canadian holidaymaker Jennifer Bruce in 1982 from Temple Pier, looking across Urquhart Bay. She did not see the monster when she took it. And what about this photo? Oh, this is better. Not entirely sure what kind of thing I'm looking at, but Loch Ness Monster by Hugh Gray, 1933. Wow. That photo is older than me. It's older than me. What else we got? Hoaxes. Any serious attempts to discover the truth behind such a mysterious beast as the Loch Ness Monster are always hampered by that hardy breed known as the practical joker. Many people like to try and outsmart supposed experts, and a successfully executed hoax can lead to much self-satisfaction. One of the more unlikely hoaxes at Loch Ness occurred in 1933, when unusual footprints were discovered at the loch side. Excitement grew as experts from the British Museum were called in to identify them. Much to almost everyone's surprise, they were found to be those of a hippopotamus, a rather baffling state of affairs until a hippopotamus foot umbrella stand was discovered at the home of one of the locals. What was probably the most well-known evidence that pointed to the existence of the Loch Ness Monster was the famous surgeon's picture, taken by Robert Wilson in 1934. He claimed that he had spotted the creature's head and neck appear from the water as he was driving by. He had a quarter-plate camera with him, and, with the aid of his telephoto lens, he photographed the beast from a distance of 200 yards. 4 plates were printed by a chemist in Inverness, and these were declared genuine by photographic experts. It was not until 1994 that it was finally revealed that the whole thing had been a hoax, executed with the aid of a toy submarine. Christian Sperling claimed that he was asked by filmmaker Duke Wetherill to fashion a fake head and neck, which were then placed on a clockwork submarine and filmed. He asked Wilson to take the resulting photos to be developed for them, as his status as a respected physician would add credence to the hoax. Thinking it all a light-hearted jape, he agreed, not realizing that his testimony would make fools of many experts for 60 years. Aha! The Surgeon's Photo, 1934. And we've got sightings last. I think nothing else to click on. The legend of the Loch Ness Monster goes back centuries to an account recorded in AD 565 of St. Columba banishing the beast to save a man's life. Back then, the beast was said to be a ferocious man-eater, but none of the more modern sightings have revealed this side of its nature. Although the legend has persisted for several centuries, sightings have only really become more common since the building of a road along its north shore from Inverness to Fort Augustus in 1933. It was in this year that a most unusual sighting was made. A reputable couple named Spicer were driving along the road when they saw the monster actually crossing the road. They could see a huge body and a 10-foot-long undulating neck ahead of them before it disappeared, startled, towards the loch. This and many other reported sightings at the time led to a great deal of interest in the monster, even to the extent of the circus owner, Bertram Mills, putting up a large reward for its capture, dead or alive. Nobody has done more to further the legend of Nessie than Alex Campbell, the water bailiff of Loch Ness. He claimed to have seen it on at least 18 occasions, the first time being 1934.
Thundercats! Ho!
Mumella just subscribed, you bloody legend. James 19 Sparkles.
Mamela, thank you so much. It's quite unnecessary for anyone to subscribe, but I appreciate you. Thank you. I've made an air quotes emote for you if you want it, but no pressure to use it. Thank you, Sumi. Okay, I didn't think about the fanfare interrupting your sentence. It's quite alright. No, that's fine, that's fine. Put it in your Discord channel. Thank you, Sumi. Where were we? Circus owner, dead or alive, Nessie, the water bailiff on Loch Ness. He claimed to have seen it on at least 18 occasions, the first time being in 1934, when he saw what looked like a prehistoric monster rise out of the water. He described it as being about 30 feet long, with grey skin, a long swan-like neck, and large hump. The mention of a hump is very common in sightings, although the quantity varies between 1 and 12, and the shape either rounded or triangular. Descriptions also differ on the matter of whether it has flippers or legs. In 1936, Ms. Marjorie Moore caught a fine view of the creature when she and her sister spotted the 30-foot-long form casually idling at the same spot for 5 minutes, before shooting off at great speed. She clearly remembered its small head and seeing its 3 humps, which straightened out as it moved. An appearance by the monster in 1965 was significant because it was witnessed by 9 people at different points around the lake, one of them an ex-policeman, Ian Cameron. He actually observed it for almost an hour, commenting on its similarity to an upturned boat, a reference common to many other sightings. In 1975, a rare sighting of 2 monsters together was made. The question of just how many Nessies there are is even more difficult to answer than the question of there being one at all. But either it is a creature of numerous years, or there has been a family there breeding a horde of the little monsters for generations. Dedicated Nessie hunter Alistair Boyd is quite a figure in the Loch Ness saga. In 1979, he became convinced of the existence of a monster there when he saw a great deal of turbulence in the loch, followed by a glimpse of its hump as it turned around under the water. As he went to reach for his camera, the monster disappeared as though it had never been there. This newfound certainty in the monster's existence wasn't to stop him being instrumental in discrediting a major piece of Ness evidence some years later, though. Others have dedicated their lives to proving the existence of the monster. In the 1960s, Frank Searle and the Tim Dinsdale both gave up their careers to prove that the monster was real. Their continual vigilance was rewarded with several sightings apiece, although another full-time observer, Steve Feltman, has not been so lucky. Despite giving up his job in 1990 to monitor the lake full-time from his van at the edge of the loch, he has never once seen the monster. The closest he has come to see an unusual wake... The closest he has... Words are hard. I might be running out of brain power. The closest he has come has been to see an unusual wake for about 10 seconds. Not much to show for 6 years of watching and waiting, yet still he watches, still he waits. It is difficult to say just how many people have been more fortunate than Steve and seen the monster, but reported sightings number in the thousands. Can so many people have been deceived by the strange wave patterns of the loch, or are they all liars and pranksters? The alternative is obvious and far more appealing. Looks like we have a bunch of newspaper articles as well. Oops, no, go back. Nessie seen by tourists. 16 people yesterday claimed to have watched for 5 minutes as the Loch Ness Monster swam by. It was first spotted by Kate Munro, whose Craigdarroch House hotel is on the edge of the Highland Lake. She alerted her husband, Dave, and 14 guests. The object was hidden beneath the surface, but left a large whitewater wake. Tourist David Neild said, "It was the monster. There were no boats on the loch, yet the wake was as big as it comes from a cruiser." Fine view of monster, seen off Brackla. An 8-minute appearance by the Loch Ness Monster, during which it cruised along the surface of the loch at great speed, was watched at about 9 p.m. on Wednesday by 5 members of the staff of the Clansman Hotel and 2 of their guests on the shores of the loch at Brackla, about midway between Inverness and Drumandrochit. The loch was almost glassy calm when the monster was sighted, and Mr. Richard Spence, a barman at the hotel, said that along with 3 of the hotel waitresses, a kitchen maid, and the 2 guests, they were attracted by the commotion in the water. He said the object, which he believes was the monster, was near the opposite side of the loch, but from the speed it was moving, and the wash it created, it appeared to be a creature of considerable size. The monster was too far from him to identify any humps, he added, but he watched as it swam towards the door's end of the loch. Then it seemed to turn back again before finally disappearing. He estimated it had been on the surface for between 7 and 8 minutes. None. It says right there. It might be a bit hard to read on stream. Open angle bracket, none, close angle bracket. Memories are made of this. Highland headlines from 25 years ago. A barman and 3 waitresses claimed to have spotted Nessie. The staff of the Clansman Hotel beside Loch Ness were convinced it was the genuine article. Barman Mr. Richard Spear said, "I was serving 2 customers at the bar when I looked out the window and saw a huge object in the water. I watched it for a moment, but did not say anything. Then I turned to the 2 men at the bar and asked, 'What do you think it is?' They immediately agreed it was the monster." According to Mr. Spear, the object, which was definitely not a boat, travelled at some speed up the loch before disappearing as suddenly as it had appeared. Nessie's back in business again. A group of English tourists on a pleasure cruiser claim they saw the Loch Ness Monster yesterday, 300 feet down in the murky depths of Scotland's deepest loch. A sonar trace on the pleasure boat, Caledonian Queen, beamed up a giant shape from the bed of the loch at 2:45 yesterday afternoon. The astonished English tourists, making their first visit to Loch Ness, snapped away with their cameras when the ominous shape loomed up on the screen. Yesterday's sighting is the first of the year. It happened as the boat made its way past Johnny's Point. Oh, and it happened. Owner of the Caledonian Queen, Norman Mackenzie from Fort Augustus, said the boat had recently been fitted with a new color sonar machine, so there was no mistake. Nessie showed up as a 40-foot-long blue blob chambering in the depths. Nessie's real, says man who exposed Photocon. I saw her roll around. The 1934 picture of Nessie that duped the world. The man who exposed the most famous Loch Ness Monster picture as a con still believes in the creature. Researcher Alistair Boyd is convinced he saw Nessie 15 years ago. Yesterday, he revealed that the Nessie seen rising out of the loch in the 1934 surgeon's photograph was the century's biggest hoax. The monster was nothing more than a toy submarine fitted with a plastic wood serpent's head. Mr. Boyd, who has hunted the creature since he spotted it in 1979, said last night, "I saw it roll around in the water like a whale. It must have been at least 20 feet long. That's why I'm skeptical of people who have claimed to have taken photos. When you see it, you don't have time to fiddle with a camera. You're too busy picking your jaw off the ground. It's ironic, but I still believe there are creatures in the loch." The photograph, supposedly snapped by Harley Street surgeon Colonel Robert Wilson, was an elaborate setup by his pal, filmmaker Marmaduke Wetherell. It hoodwinked Fleet Street and the rest of the world, but it will remain on display at Loch Ness exhibition in Inverness, North Scotland. It is the most famous image people have. Some of these newspaper clippings are a bit weathered at the edges. I think finally we have Nessie dead. Shock for young Americans. Loch Ness monster dies. Legendary creature perishes in Scotland as hundreds watch. What the fuck is this? The Loch Ness monster is dead. Dismayed Americans have been told. The Weekly World News carried a story entitled Loch Ness Monster Dies in Scotland as Hundreds Watch, along with a dramatic photo of Nessie dying on the beach. The news brought shock to high school youngsters in the Caledonian something of Vakilville, who nearly cancelled a Highland holiday as a result. It led to a Welsh woman living in Vakaville making an urgent trip to the school to convince the disappointed kids that Nessie was still alive. Catering firm president Valerie Horizon saved the day. Catering firm president Valerie Horizon saved the day when she addressed a parent-teacher association meeting and confirmed the report was untrue. Sorry, this is getting very blurry and full of JPEG artifacts. Valerie checked her facts beforehand with her brother Vincent Martin, a former Queen's Own Highlander and regimental sergeant major of Bridge of Don Barracks, Aberdeen, now living in Strathpeffer. Vincent showed that the press and journal a copy of the article sent by his sister. The caption to the largest of four accompanying pictures reads, "Legendary creature perishes, dying Loch Ness, blurry, 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 huge crowd, which could only stand by hopelessly as the creature eventually died in agony." The clever picture, however, shows onlookers dressed in 1950s bathing suits. In the text, marine biologist Dr. Carl Kramer is quoted as calling the beast's demise the tragedy of this century or any other. Dr. Kramer claims that the witnesses kept silent because the livelihoods of so many depended on tourists visiting Loch Ness. The only consolation for Nessie fans is a statement that the monster left behind a 3-year-old baby to take her place. A half-amused, half-annoyed Mr. Martin said yesterday, "It's a real con and, in a way, quite funny, but there could be thousands in California, like the people in Vakaville High School, who believe the story, and it could damage the tourist trade. My sister had a hard time trying to convince her friends that it was a lot of lies." Alright, I think that's it for Nessie. And what's this one? Last one for this room?
There can be no doubt that people love a good mystery. Equally, there can be no doubting our propensity for a good hoax. The saga of the Minnesota Iceman probably satisfies those looking for both. In May 1967, a most fascinating exhibit, an ape-man encased in a block of ice, went on display in a refrigerated coffin throughout the United States. Its keeper, showman Frank D. Hansen, didn't help its claims of authenticity by the fact that he continually changed his story about how he came by it. First he claimed to have shot it, then he claimed that he found it floating in ice in the Sea of Okhotsk, and later he claimed that it had been bought in Hong Kong by its owner, a mysterious Hollywood filmmaker known only as Mr. X. In December 1968, it was examined by Dr. Bernard Heuvelmans and biologist Ivan T. Sanderson in a poorly lit trailer. They concluded that it was indeed a genuine unknown hominid that had been shot through its right eye. Heuvelmans gave it the title of Homo pongoides, while Sanderson gave it the nickname of Bozo. Dr. Napier of Birkbeck College was asked by Heuvelmans to give the creature a full scientific examination before it went on exhibit for a second tour, when Hansen sensationally stated that he had substituted the original for a latex model, which, although very similar, did look slightly different from the original, thus preventing a conclusive examination. Hansen never did properly explain why he had this latex replica made, or kept switching the replica and the original around. His final version of events was that he had shot the beast whilst out hunting in the woods and later placed it in a freezer. An earlier news headline had told the story of a woman named Helen Westring who claimed that she had shot an ape-like creature that had tried to rape her whilst in the woods of Minnesota. Heuvelmans, however, still maintained that the beast he had examined was genuine. No dummy, he claimed, would have given off the odour of putrefaction that he could smell while examining it up close. One thing is for certain, there was definitely something very fishy about Homo pongoides.
Yeah, I don't know, it sounds kind of like some guy shot and killed a particularly hairy person and then froze his body. And or made a latex model of it. Yeah, okay, that was not a very convincing story by that person, whoever he was. Okay, mystery green alcove. Jar of something? Was it like a pint of Guinness? Kind of looks like a pint of Guinness. Oh, it is. The famous actor Sir Alec Guinness told the story of how he met James Dean in a restaurant and, upon being shown the young actor's new sports car, had a chilling premonition. He told young Dean, "Please, never get in it. It is now 10 o'clock, Friday the 23rd of September, 1955. If you get in that car, you'll be found dead in it by this time next week." The next Friday, James Dean was found dead in his new sports car. So either Sir Alec Guinness used the Force and was able to predict that this would happen, or maybe he just really wanted to murder James Dean and sabotaged his car and then made it look like he just predicted it. Looks like a snake of some sort. Mr. Potter's Museum of Curiosities. Oh, it's this guy again, the cryptozoologist.
Potter's Museum of Curiosity in Cornwall, England, is one of the most amazing treasure troves of strange and bizarre creatures that I've ever been to. It's a reflection of its times, because when Walter Potter assembled this collection in the 19th century, he, like most Victorian naturalists, had a fascination with the bizarre, with the unusual, with the deformed. The Victorians called it teratology, the study of monsters, and it's something that has been almost universally ignored by zoologists ever since. Interestingly, as we approach the new millennium, the study of teratology is beginning to interest mainstream scientists again, as they're finding, in studying these deformed and bizarre creatures, they're finding answers to some of the great mysteries of life, the cure for cancer, for example. And it seems, after 150 years, that the old Victorian scientists were probably right after all.
Oh, those wacky Victorian scientists. What's this? The Victorian fixation with curiosities, such as the kittens with 3 heads or 6 legs, led to the preservation of many interesting artifacts at the time, but there can be few collections of such items as comprehensive as that housed at Mr. Potter's Museum of Curiosities at Bulventor, Cornwall, England. Nestling among the most bizarre tableaux of taxidermy of the period, schoolrooms full of tiny stuffed rabbits, all in human poses, or the tiny kittens holding a tea party, and unusual objects from around the world, such as the 4,000-year-old mummy of a crocodile, are some genuine anomalies of nature, such as the two-headed lamb that was donated in the early 1900s, or the amazing four-legged duck who lived for 16 years until it was killed by a hailstone. The sight of rats sporting long gnarled tusks is not a common one, yet here at Potter's they seem the most natural things in the world. Why, even the tusked rabbits look almost normal. A visit to Mr. Potter's Museum of Curiosities will reward you with a glimpse into a world that is quite different to the one you're used to, unless of course you're a five-headed sloth, in which case you'll feel right at home. Okay, that's a little silly. There's the fire exit. Let's get out of here. Okay, so the green one is how we got into this room. So presumably the red one over there will take us somewhere else. Check behind us. You never know if there's some little secret they've hidden away. Please don't be another puzzle. Oh, hello! There's an entire room behind us. That's strange. Where does the map say we are? So we were in the corridor, and then we went to the Cryogenic Chamber, and that's taken us to the maze. Oh no. It's a maze. Let's see, if we go back out to the map. So what's ahead of us? Right, ahead of us is the maze. Oh, got some FMV going on. Who doesn't like a good maze? M. Zizzy, that's who. The mysterious origins of mazes, or labyrinths, have puzzled archaeological experts even more than the constructions themselves. As images, they date back to 2500 BC, with the spiral designs inscribed on a burial mound at New Grange in Ireland. But mazes have actually been built since around 1800 BC, when King Amenemhet III had a gigantic example constructed beside his pyramid. The great mystery of the maze centers around the fact that they seem to have appeared all over the world almost simultaneously, and often bearing remarkable similarities to each other. But how? How could such images, significant for the fact that they were possibly the first pictures to be non-representational, appear so far apart from each other when obviously there can have been no contact between the various civilizations at that time. Yes, Old School J, clearly it was that particular Twitch emote. And we've got a button here, which makes the thing go away. Okay, so we can actually go back and use that console to play the maze game, but I'm curious as to what's through the door that was behind us this whole time when we teleported in. Like, where are we on the map now? We're in a big room with some sort of machine? A missile? Oh, a jet engine. David Booth could gain no satisfaction from being proved right, but he knew it was going to happen. He warned people it was going to happen, and when it did happen, he just wished he'd been wrong. For 10 consecutive nights, he dreamt of a 3-engined American Airlines plane losing its power, rolling over and crashing in a ball of flames. He knew he had to do something. Fraught with worry, he called the Federal Aviation Authority and American Airlines to warn them of his dreams, but there was little they could do, and tragically, just days later, his dream came to life. On May the 25th, 1979, one of the worst aviation disasters in history happened at Chicago Airport, when a 3-engined American Airlines DC-10 crashed on takeoff, killing nearly 300 people. Most remarkable was the unusual way that it rolled over as it crashed, just as David Booth had seen in his dreams. Oh, there's a creepy mask on the wall. If a bullet was to enter the back of your head, go straight through your brain, and exit just above your eye, you'd be forgiven for thinking that your number was up. Yet when it happened to a man in South Africa in 1955, he just walked himself to the hospital and suffered no ill effects other than a headache. Frank Brown, a soldier who suffered a similar fate, could actually blow cigarette smoke through the hole above his eye. Anything on the opposite wall? Oh, there's a bear trap here. Good thing we didn't step on that. American Indians tell stories of strange beings living in Pyramid Lake, Nevada, known as water babies. These, however, are very different to the water babies of Charles Kingsley's famous novel. A trapper is said to have unwittingly caught one of these babies in his steel trap one day, only to return and find his trap reduced to a heap of twisted metal, smeared with watery baby blood. Yes, that's definitely watery baby blood. That's... I can tell. I'm a trapper. Is that a microwave? Oh, and there's another game to play with these things. Okay. Microwave. There is a tiny village in France that has earned the nickname the Devil's Microwave because of a spate of mysterious fires that cannot be explained. Investigators are completely baffled, ruling out any suggestion that arson or electrical faults could have started the fires. In this absence of any natural explanation, the villagers have begun to look to the supernatural for the cause. Beep. Beep. Hello, Kay. How are you? Welcome in. We are playing Weird, a 1995 interactive multimedia CD-ROM that is a collection of weird stories and supernatural things. And it plays a bit like Myst. So, like, I can listen James read forever? You can. I'll read whatever you want. Animals on the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico have been terrorized over the last 2 decades by a frightening creature known as the goat sucker, or chupacabra. The local newspaper El Vocero reported that it had sucked 5 goats and 20 parakeets to death on Halloween, 1995. These were just the latest in a long line of unfortunate animals to come to a sticky end at the hands or mouth of the creature that has a habit of draining its victims' blood and relieving them of their guts. A mechanic recently claimed to have narrowly escaped becoming its first human victim when he turned up at a hospital for treatment to some claw marks on his abdomen. He described his assailant as a 5-foot-tall, gorilla-like beast. Other witnesses have commented on its glowing red eyes and the flashing lights that have sometimes been seen overhead, suggesting a possible alien link. Most concerning to the younger inhabitants of the island, however, is the recent reports that it senselessly destroyed a poor teddy bear, leaving a pool of slime behind it. My wife. Good to see the gang all here. Oh, come on there. The wording was so deliberate, yeah. What else we've got? Oh, there's an abacus of some sort. A survey carried out in the 1970s by William J. Cox, an American mathematician, revealed that trains that were involved in accidents were always carrying less passengers than they normally would at that time, especially the carriages directly involved in the misfortunes. The only way to explain this would suggest some form of mass premonition. Clicking on these must be doing some sort of game, but I'll keep looking around the room for all of the other stuff. Yeah, there's like a bomb on the side there. Come on, let's go this way. That thing. Yeah, it's a bomb. A very cartoony bomb. London News. In 1976, a psychic from East Anglia, England, named Maureen Baker had 2 visions of a newspaper placard reporting a bomb at Olympia. She later advised a colleague against going to the Ideal Home exhibition there and saw another image of a bomb being placed in a litter bin. The next day, a bomb that had been placed in a litter bin exploded at Olympia. Spooky. Unless maybe she was like involved with a terrorist conspiracy and didn't want that person to be blown up. But it could have been a premonition. Okay, so this one's flashing. Let's have a look at it. There's something to play. Hazard.
Destroy sequence activated.
This is really cool CG. Johnny 5 is alive. It is. So what's all this then? We have a terminal of some sort. If I click here, we go out. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a 1. And we can change the number, which changes the sound we're listening to. What's this do? It's also a minus symbol. Is it just this like a sound test thing for the devs? They put a lot of work into that animation. I would think it's like more than just sound test. Maybe it's all the different ambience that you can find in the game. Or maybe it's a puzzle. Who knows? If it is a puzzle, it's a bit vague. I'll try the blue thing. Oh, yeah, it's going away now. Like, it's got that circular screen sort of thing on it. I kind of feel like it could do something else. Might have to revisit that one. Let's look on the map where we are. So we're in the radio chamber. Okay, that makes sense with the robot. There's the devil's microwave. Puzzle 1. Okay, so it is a puzzle. Just don't know what. Good night, YGY. Thanks for being here. Olympia Bomb. Water Babies. The Whole Truth. Yes. Cox Survey. Oh, and there's puzzle 2 on the other end of the room. Okay, so should we look at that? Let's go look at that. I mean, there's also the maze that we could do if we get stuck, but that'll lead to a whole other area, and we can do that maybe another time. I don't want to strain my voice too much. Ah, okay. So we've got bells, bubbling noise, and clock. We heard those things before on the doodad. Fire, bird, heart, galloping, roar, thunder, waves. So this is like a combination lock, and we need to use Johnny 5 back there to find out what the combination is. The numbers went all the way up to like 10 though, so I'm not entirely sure. Unless there's like another numerical combination somewhere in this room. What's that? 47216. It's gone now.
Hazard.
Thanks, man.
Hazard. Droid sequence activated.
It doesn't make sense though, because it looked like a 3 combination lock on the door. Puzzling. We have a puzzle. So let me get this down. Yeah. But then it's given us these arrows, right? So this might be a really long, involved kind of combination, right? We're getting trios of sounds for each of these numbers, and we've got that number to input into the thing. That was a bunch. It's very confusing. Although 5 isn't in that number, so maybe, you know, it just gives us a bunch of random sounds. Like 7 there, that was just like 3 different sounds. And 8 I don't think was one of the numbers in the thing. And the 9 I think also isn't something we need to take care of. But just in case. Alright, so if it's based on the number 47216, the 4 one sounded like fire, heartbeat, horse, and then bird, which was weird. Let's hear 4 again. I mean, maybe I was wrong about the fire at the start. Maybe 4 is just heart, horse, bird. We can try putting that into the machine and see what happens. We can probably skip this animation. There we go. So, 4, let's assume it was Arch Horsebird. Yes? I can be let in now, please? Well, okay. Hmm. Is the door numbered on the map? Good question. Other than puzzle number 2, no. And that lightning that we saw on the track. Oh wait, there we go. Train 47216. That feels like it's an expositionary mystery thing that maybe I clicked through too early. Maybe we will learn something if we can make it appear again. There it is. I'm just clicking once. Apologies for the strobing. Ah, yes, something's loading.
In England in 1981, a psychic had a vision that a locomotive with the number 47216 would be involved in a crash. She contacted British Rail with details. 2 years later, there was a train crash that bore many similarities to the one that the psychic had seen in her vision. The main discrepancy was the locomotive number, which was 47299, rather than the 47216 that she had predicted. The amazing fact was that the locomotive, although known as 47299 then, had formerly had a different number. The number was 47216, but had been changed after the psychic's earlier warning.
Yeah, epilepsy. A lot of games of this era and older, they don't really give a damn about photosensitivity. You could even see the brightness of the fire stuff just flashing on my face back there. Also, my ring light has fallen over slightly. Hooray. I managed to fix the ring light a little bit in that it had fallen over and was listing at a 90-degree angle. And I fixed that, but it's still I've attached it to the back of my monitor with duct tape, and the back of my monitor gets hot, so it's just it's been on for a while and it's listing to the side now. Good old duct tape. Yeah, except when it doesn't work quite well. I mean, it was free, and I made it myself, and I love it very much, so yeah. I will fix it up somehow. What time are we at? I could go for a little bit longer, but I'm not sure I have enough brain power to do this puzzle. We could do the maze puzzle instead and come back there. Because the maze I don't need to be thinking carefully about things. I can just derp around in this maze, right? Yes, puzzle is many spoons. I have about half a spoon. Okay, let's try this button. Ah. Sumerian seals, Cretan coins, Babylonian tablets, Hopi Indian symbols. The maze was most prominent in ancient times. But why? The most common theories suggest that the designs were representative of a journey of resurrection, linking the worlds of the living and the dead. It is easy to see how the difficulty involved in navigating a path through all the twists and turns of a labyrinth could be related to a spiritual journey of one kind or another. There appear to be two basic forms of maze. Rectilinear designs that often form baffling constructions to frustrate and confuse travellers with their numerous false endings, which enjoyed renewed popularity in the 16th century, and the more spiral-shaped designs, which are the most commonly found in ancient carvings. The most famous of mazes must surely be the one said to have been built by King Minos at Knossos to contain the man-bull known as the Minotaur. Human sacrifices were regularly sent into the dreaded labyrinth to appease the beast until the heroic Theseus slew it with a sword given to him by King Minos' own daughter, Ariadne, who had fallen in love with him. She had also given him a ball of thread so that he could leave a trail that he could follow back to find his way back out of the maze once he had slain the Minotaur. Sadly, no remains of such a construction as the labyrinth have ever been discovered at Knossos, suggesting it was probably no more than an entertaining myth. Successfully negotiate the hazardous maze by guiding the Cybertrak Industries Class II Explorer Droid trademark to the drawbridge engagement mechanism. Observe the Krypton halogen bulbs, the Supergrip trademark thread, and the infrared video camera. Initiate droid remote operation? Why yes, I believe we will. Robocam online. All right. So they've made clever use of their full motion video technology here to give us a bunch of renderings of traversing this maze that then get played as we go around it. This definitely reminds me of the maze game we used to play in school. Oh, what was that, Mem? I mean, here we've got like flashlights and it's casting shadows and everything. You wouldn't actually be able to get that kind of real-time rendering back in 1995. Let's go left. Left-hand rule. Oh, big hammer. So left was not the path. I was 10, so I only know of maze game. Oh no, they broke the rule by adding danger? Yes. Thankfully we have an unlimited supply of these little robots. Let's go. I mean, it only took a few years of advancement in graphics and stuff before they would have been able to render this kind of scene in real time. Like, you'd fake the lighting a bit, obviously. And nowadays, people do ray tracing in games, so you could actually do that, like, kind of proper lighting. But it was a clever little solution for a, limited system resources, but we have a nice CD-ROM that we can pack full of video. Generic marble wall texture. Let's go right this time. I have a good feeling about right. Ooh, four-way intersection. Left. And another one. I'll be peeved if we run into that hammer again. And another left. Surely this is taking us back the way we came. Yep, there's the hammer. This may result in a lot of trial and error that we have to do. I don't really want to map out this maze on paper. Vroom. The robot needs like a little breadcrumb dropping button. Super Maze Wars. Is that the name of your maze game, ma'am? Yes, it was on Mac, apparently. Ah. I never had too much experience with Macs. I mean, they did have some of the colourful ones at school sometimes. And I think even at university I was doing some psychology courses. Like they had the questionnaire on the Macs that they had in the lab. We used to play it in school against each other. Nice. And the one Mac game I do remember fairly clearly was Shuffle Cafe on the old black and white Macs, because we were visiting a friend of the family's house in Melbourne, actually, I think it was. And to entertain us, the host of the house, loaded up some games on his Mac, and here's Shuffle Cafe, and it's a cool little game where you've got like a shuffle puck table and you can bounce the puck over to your opponent, which was just a AI opponent. And I remember being very upset when it was time for us to go, because the adults had had their fun and now we're leaving. Never mind that the children are still having fun with the computer. There's a right turn here. I'm tempted to just kind of wander randomly. Let's do it. I mean, if we get bored, we can pick it up again next week. And if we reach the exit, then that's great. Oh no. We can just brute force this. We can just forcibly keep trying until we get it. Hope he's still on camera, right? Hard to see, actually. Should we zoom in? How did she close her door? I mean, I've seen her open doors before, which is very smart of her. She's such a nice girl, good girl. Not really zooming in that much. Oh yeah, I can see an ear. I guess he closed the door for privacy. She has some sort of objection to being on camera. So we'll get to that four-way intersection again. That's at least a sort of notable landmark. I should build a little robot. Then we can get Chat to control it and follow Poppy around the place. I'm sure she would love that. Being chased by a mechanized abomination of some sort. For the sake of all the views on twitch.television. It would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've got some Lego. I have the Arduino skills. We could get like a Raspberry Pi camera, mount it on there. I have too many project ideas, like pet projects, like the ring light thing. Did we come here already? I seem to remember there's also bottomless pits in this maze. Congratulations for making it to 3 hours, James. Has it really been that long? Oh, it has. Well, it's been entertaining. And started earlier than I do for my Monday streams, so that helps. Another turn off. Ignore it. Ooh, is this the thing? This is the thing. But my robot doesn't have arms. How do I engage the thing? Oh, okay, the robot does have arms. I don't think it had arms before, but I'm not going to complain. We got through the maze. We got through the maze, everyone. Ooh, oh, cool, the bridge is lowering down. The bridge has television screens. There are more things to learn. Considering it's been 3 hours and I'm a little parched, I'm just going to take a short break. We might well end up ending the stream soon anyway, but I'll take a short break and yes, we'll just do a little BRB for a couple of minutes. How's that sound? I have my BRB screen. Thank you for the hydrate, mem. I will do that right now on camera so that you know it's legit. Because I'm kind of curious what these monitors have on them. And we could at least look at those before I pass out. But here we go, BRB. And we're back. Yes, that was good. I think just a little pause to help us get over the finish line here is necessary. Let's also save the game while we've done that maze, because I don't want to do that again. We can have a look at these monitors. Just got static on them. Oh no, here we go.
Reincarnation is basically a belief that we all live more lives than one. How many lives that is probably depends on how quickly we learn the lessons in life, but the theory behind reincarnation is that one life is not sufficient. If it were, really the injustices of life wouldn't make sense at all. But if we come into this life and we have certain health conditions, and then in the next life we live a happier life, it all balances out in the end. And I'm not a Buddhist, but the Buddhist belief and Hindu belief is generally that you are heading towards the Godhead, that you're trying to perfect yourself and get better until the time comes when you don't need to incarnate on Earth anymore.
Okay. Ooh, UFOs.
The El Indio Guerrero case refers to an alleged incident along the Texas-Mexico border on December 6, 1950, in which a UFO was alleged to have crashed in that area, in which the American and Mexican military authorities cooperated in retrieving certain pieces of it. And then, according to this government document, which is known as the alleged government document, which is known as the MJ-12 document, the remains from that wreckage was taken to the Atomic Energy Commission facility in Sandia, New Mexico. And this case sort of connects with the Roswell case, and both cases were mentioned in this purported MJ-12 document. And the Roswell case was the reason for the initiation of the MJ-12 conference or group to study UFOs, to research what material we were getting back, and then supposedly to continue to maintain the cover-up. We investigated the El Indio Guerrero crash on 3 separate occasions, and we were not able to confirm any local witnesses that actually saw it. We did have one person that described events similar to what we would expect, including military authorities in the area. Unfortunately, we were later able to determine that in 1944, during World War II, a Civil Air Patrol plane had actually crashed 7 miles from Guerrero. And we believe that the local population may have taken this case, and that it's now sort of passed along into myth or folklore. It may have transmuted itself into a UFO, in other words.
Well, it's a literal UFO if you didn't know what it was. But yeah, aliens. Looks like I don't have to do any reading for this little corridor. Roy Stemmen, editor of Reincarnation International.
One of the best proofs of reincarnation is where there's a physical element involved, particularly a birthmark or birth defect which coincides with some sort of a wound or even the cause of death in a past life. A particular case that comes to mind is Titu Singh in Delhi, near Delhi, who remembered being shot through the head when he lived in his past life and ran a video shop. He, when he was born, had 2 marks on his head, quite incredibly. One was smaller than the other and is exactly like the autopsy report on the man who died that he remembered in his previous life. So the smaller wound is the entry wound, a larger wound is the exit wound, and they are exactly the same as the autopsy report. Not only that, but his wife and his parents from that past life are satisfied that he is the person they knew and has been reborn as Titu Singh.
Yeah, I mean, getting shot in the head is something you definitely remember. So is it all reincarnation on the left? Oh no, we've got more UFOs here. I don't know what it has to do with mazes. Like, it seems like this corridor they've just sort of thrown together anything that was UFO or reincarnation related.
But skeptics argue that there's been no scientific proof of the UFO phenomenon. Well, they're wrong. In the mid-1980s in Norway, in central Norway, it's a place called Hessdalen, the UFO phenomena, the light phenomena, these strange lights, manifested itself in great profusion in the Hessdalen Valley, surrounded by 3 mountains. The UFO groups of Norway and Sweden obtained assistance from the universities of Bergen and Oslo, from the Norwegian Defence Research Establishment, and from various individual bodies, and set up several month-long observation in the Hessdalen Valley in the winter. Not only did they record the phenomena on radar, they took literally dozens of clear, still photographs of this phenomena down in the valley below the mountains. They also recorded it with other instruments. They even fired a laser at this phenomena. It was flying along and it was pulsing at a certain rate. And they fired the laser at it, it seemed to change its pulsation as if in a reaction to the laser beam. These findings were made available to the scientific community. The late father of ufology, if you like, Dr. Alan Hynek, said that the Hessdalen project, as it was known, was a UFO laboratory, and that's exactly what it was. But because it took place in a small place in central Norway, and not in America or in the UK, it's been largely ignored. But it is the most scientific project that's ever happened by UFO groups to come to terms with the UFO phenomena. So there is scientific proof that the UFO phenomena does exist, and Project Hessdalen proves it.
It is such an interesting game, Mem. I agree. And, you know, you wouldn't really see a game like this come out these days. It's a product of its era because we had suddenly access to all of this CD-ROM storage. And, you know, what do you do with it all? How can you possibly find enough video and audio to fit onto 650 megabytes? It's yeah, it's like because the media suddenly made this jump, like the art form like just didn't know what to do with it, and felt free to experiment and make all sorts of wacky stuff. Yeah. Because this isn't so much of a game. Like, there are game elements to it, but it's also interactive encyclopedia kind of thing. Yeah.
The treasure of Rennes-le-Château in the south of France is the story of a French priest called Béranger Saunière, who arrived at the village, a little mountaintop village on the foothills of the Pyrenees, just to the west of the Corbières, in 1885, and he was practically penniless. By the time he died in 1917, in rather mysterious circumstances, he had been spending money like water in very ostentatious and conspicuous consumption. Béranger Saunière found something in Rennes-le-Château. It is possible that what he found was Templar treasure. It is possible that what he found was something that had come from ancient Egypt, from a civilization older than Egypt, that it had gone with Moses to Palestine, that it had come back when the Romans looted the Jewish treasures, that it had been taken from the Romans by the Visigoths, for whom Rennes-le-Château, which is now just a tiny village, was once a medieval citadel with a garrison of 2,000 men. And it is possible that that treasure was rescued by the Templars before Philip le Bel destroyed their order in 1307, that those same Templars took it to the Orkneys, where they were befriended by Prince Henry, and that Prince Henry enabled them to ship it to the New World, because Henry had help from the Zeno brothers, famous Venetian navigators of the time, and at the closing decades of the 14th century, Henry and the Templars may have taken part of an ancient treasure from Rennes-le-Château in France and concealed it in the money pit on Oak Island.
I love this guy. It may have been possible that then this, and then it's possible that, and then also, then it's possible from that, and then it's possible. It's a very long series of possibilities, which, okay, not refuting you, it is possible. We saw more of that guy last week, talking about the treasure of Oak Island, the money pit. So I wonder if this corridor is actually sort of like a extra footage corridor of leftover bits on the cutting room floor that they wanted to continue, like, keep in the game somewhere, but didn't really know where it might fit in. Nick Pope, former UFO investigator for UK Ministry of Defence.
Between 1991 and 1994, I was responsible for investigating UFO sightings for the British government, working at the Ministry of Defence. When I came into the job, I was a skeptic and I knew very little about it, but throughout my 3-year voyage of discovery, I became gradually more and more convinced that there was something very strange going on. And although I still maintain that 90 or 95% of the sightings have conventional explanations, there was a hard core that defied any attempt to come up with a rational answer. And these sightings, I believe, do, in some cases, represent objects of extraterrestrial origin.
And then I was fired. Jonathan Downes, editor of leading cryptozoological magazine. Ah, that guy.
Strange creatures which appear to be kangaroos have been reported across many parts of the world where kangaroos have never existed. They've been reported in many of the counties of the British Isles and across the Midwest of America. One of the strangest things about the American mystery kangaroos is that not only do they exist where kangaroos have never existed, but they behave in a most un-kangaroo-like manner. Wild kangaroos eat grass and small herbs. Some of these kangaroos from America, including ones reported in Chicago in the 1930s, were reported as eating meat. These kangaroos have been linked with cattle mutilation, with the appearances of strange winged creatures in the skies, and also with UFO activity.
He just had to mention also UFOs at the end there. Oh, no, there's one more. Jonathan Downes again.
There are two main types of large flying phenomenon of an animal nature. Freudian zoologists with a sense of humour refer to them as UFOs, unidentified flapping objects. And one type are reported as large or oversized birds of prey, and the others are reported as flying humanoids, people or creatures whose shape is essentially human, but can fly through the air either with wings or with some sort of gliding power. Some of the most interesting of all paranormal zooform phenomena fall into this category. One of the most well-researched ones was the outbreak of sightings in West Virginia in 1967, which were researched by John Keel, the famous ufologist. These sightings of an apparition which became known as a Mothman were seen usually in conjunction with UFO activity and other paranormal activity, including strange telephone calls and bizarre electrical accidents.
Strange telephone calls. I get those. I love that they focused on his cat and reflection for the majority of that. Don't think it's so much of a stuffed cat toy as it is taxidermy. So where does this door lead? Ooh, spooky. We're in time and space. Okay, there's 6 things to look at here. Space chess room. I can do 6 things. Who says I can't? Top secret. Unidentified flying objects. One summer afternoon in 1947, businessman Kenneth Arnold observed 9 disc-shaped objects in the sky while flying his own plane near Mount Rainier in Washington state. The objects were moving 2 abreast at a speed only then attained by rockets. The completely round entities moved in an undulating flight path, and Arnold described them as looking like saucers when skipped over water. An inventive reporter coined the phrase flying saucer, and it soon became a household name, capturing the imagination of the world. The popular term is not used by serious investigators. They prefer the more exact term UFO, unidentified flying object. This was not the first sighting of strange objects in the sky, nor the first time the objects were described as saucer-like. On January the 24th, 1878, a Texan farmer witnessed a fast-moving object in the sky and was reported to have said that the only way he could describe it was as a large saucer. Most evidence for the existence of UFOs is currently in the form of photographs. A lot of these can be discounted as fakes, and many others are so blurred and ambiguous that they add another dimension to the UFO mystery. If UFOs do not exist, and most people these days own a camera, why do we not have better photographic evidence? If UFOs are physical objects, they must come from somewhere. In the new era, 1940s, of UFO sightings, it was initially assumed that they must be coming from somewhere on Earth. A German or Russian secret craft, perhaps? No evidence to substantiate these theories was forthcoming, and ufologists began to look beyond our Earth to worlds in other solar systems for the answers. It seemed reasonable that other civilizations might have a similar interest in us. After all, our own space programs were progressing. Yes, humans, we're so great. Aliens must be coming to look at us. Oh, thank you for the clip, man. Alternative theories claimed that saucer fever had gripped the nation, causing ordinarily cautious people to see UFOs in everyday objects. Report after report was explained away as balloons, birds, meteorites, planets, conventional aircraft, or natural phenomena by the authorities. So why were the same governments who repeatedly denied any existence of UFOs secretly investigating these reports? Because a small but significant percentage of UFOs remained unidentified and unexplained as natural phenomena after experts ruled out every known possibility. These were often also the best reports in terms of the reliability of the witnesses and the standard of supporting evidence, such as radar reports. Physical evidence appeared and was gathered in the form of photographs and film, but when the first decade of flying saucer activity was over, the puzzle remained. But the experts were no nearer solving the flying saucer mystery than they were when Kenneth Arnold's sighting hit the world headlines. Then, the Soviet Union launched the first man-made satellite on October 4th, 1957. Humankind was on the verge of exploring space and sending our own UFOs to other worlds. We've got pictures. Ha! I want to believe. Do we get the same photos? No, different photos. I think there's photos on page 2 that we didn't see. that's where we came in. There's the space shuttle. We need to send this VOD to Haunting Human Studios. I think that James would get a kick out of this. Yeah, definitely. What I plan to do is check the Internet Archive later to see if they've got a copy of this CD. And if they don't, I'll just have to make an account and get my scanner working and scan the cover and upload the ISO of the CD so that it's preserved properly. And other people can play it. Although I did have to set up a Windows 98 virtual machine to get it installed. Or not even installed, just working. Text or video? Let's try text. On the 12th of September 1991, strange events were broadcast back to Earth by the Shuttle Discovery mission and captured on the videotapes of many space enthusiasts around the world. Precisely what was revealed on these tapes has become the focus of much intense speculation involving UFO researchers, NASA, and even primetime TV, Hard Copy, and The Larry King Live Show. It was standard practice for all the space shuttles to transmit continuous live video back to Earth. This was broadcast via NASA's Select TV channel, available on satellite and cable TV, and avidly watched by many devotees of the shuttle missions. An interesting point to note is that since the controversy caused by this particular mission, NASA no longer provide a continuous live downlink. They now use a delay system, allowing the editing of tapes before the public get to see them. UFOlogists argue that this allows for censorship of the tapes, and that further evidence even suggests that NASA have deleted sections of video footage from the official archives. NASA are a publicly funded body with a charter to make all their findings available, and this does not seem to be in the best interests of the public. There were 6 anomalous events captured on video, referred to researchers as events 1 through 6. Curious naming system. Event 1. 30th September 1991. A series of 5 lights travel up, one at a time, from behind the tail of the shuttle until they form an arc. A 6th and larger light appears from behind the left engine. It's considerably brighter than the others and appears to be flashing. It moves to the focal point of the arc created by the others. Then, for some unknown reason, the video pans down to show the cargo bay. Ground control requests manual control of the camera, which then pans up to reveal that the lights have vanished. Event 2. See video clip. The first part of the video shows a nighttime view of Earth. The lights of cities are visible, as well as clouds and an electrical storm. What kind of storm? Electrical. Several glowing objects can be seen moving, seemingly above the atmosphere. Some of these are larger than others and appear to be traveling upwards towards the shuttle. Another moves slowly from lower right to upper left, parallel to the Earth's horizon. A bright flash seems to fill the screen from the lower left. The object traveling parallel to the horizon makes a very sharp turn and accelerates off into space, fading as it goes just as 2 streaks of light head towards its previous location from the lower left. The overall impression is that someone, or something, had fired at the object, which then immediately changed course and accelerated away to avoid being intercepted. Event 3. A view of the cloud-covered Earth fills the screen. Above these clouds, frantic action appears to be taking place. Literally dozens of objects seem to be moving in all directions. Many seem to be descending into or flying upwards through the atmosphere. Then there seems to be a similar streak of light as seen in Event 2, which actually intercepts one of the objects. Approximately 40 seconds after this, a large elliptical white object appears in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. The camera view swiftly changes to show the side of the shuttle. Event 4. Note, the reason that Event 4 would appear to occur before Event 3 is that researchers named these sections of tape before precise dates and times were known. The descriptions of the remaining 2 events are based on the reports of NASA researcher Vince DiPietro. Originally, DiPietro stated that he could find no obvious explanation for these anomalies, although he has since changed his mind and agrees with NASA's official explanation, detailed later. Event 4 seems to depict a large bell-shaped object with smaller oblong shapes moving from the bottom to the top of the screen. Some sections of these objects would appear to be rotating at high speed. Event 5. A large tubular-shaped object moves from the left to the right while pulsating light can be seen at the top of the screen. This event appears to have been removed from the official NASA STS-48 video archive, resulting in a 14-second gap in the timecode. Event 6. A brightly illuminated object appears from the left and flies across the middle of the screen. At high speed. If viewed in slow motion, this mysterious object seems to change color from red to green to white. The official version. Despite the amount of interest and controversy caused by the screening of these video sequences, NASA have been unable to come up with a credible explanation. Their official explanation is that these sightings are ice crystals breaking away from the body of the shuttle and being propelled into space by the attitude thrusters. Unfortunately, simple examinations of the flight logs show that the thrusters were not being fired at the time of these incidents. Additionally, the relative position of the shuttle to the Earth does not change during these events, as it would be expected to if the thrusters were being fired. According to ufologists, this and other pieces of information all add up to some form of cover-up. Experts who have studied hundreds of hours of NASA tapes say they have never seen anything similar. When James Oberg, a NASA representative, went on the Larry King show to discuss these events, the tape provided by NASA was of extremely poor quality, at the very least a copy of a copy of a copy. If there is nothing to hide, why not make good quality copies of the tape available? Let's look.
The view from the shuttle shows the Earth sky at night time and the city lights below. An electrical storm can be seen over the city, accounting for the first few flashes of light. At the top center of the screen, a dot of light appears and begins to move towards the left. In an apparent response to a flash from the lower left, the dot suddenly breaks to the right and rapidly moves away. A few seconds later, two streaks of light move sharply upwards, following the object.
Dun dun dun. Oh, here's the sun. For years, mankind has yearned to destroy the sun. How would you feel if you were to walk through an usually familiar place, only to find that the architectural features had suddenly changed, and the people were wearing clothes from another century? A shift in the very fabric of time, perhaps? The concept of time slipping in such a way seems impossible, yet two English ladies in August 1901 believed they had just such an experience. Miss Moberly, the principal of St. Hugh's College, Oxford, and Miss Jourdain were strolling along a near-hidden path that they had discovered in the grounds of the Petit Trianon in Versailles, just outside Paris, when a strange atmosphere descended upon them. As they continued walking, they encountered a variety of people dressed in strange attire. Some gardeners wearing green clothes and tricorn hats, some ladies wearing old-fashioned dresses with full skirts, and one particularly menacing man wearing a dark cloak and... No, that's the picture. Yeah, how do I get the next page? There's a tiny, sliver of... There we go. Dark cloak and slouch hat. One young man advised them to follow a particular route, which took them across a rustic bridge by a small waterfall, and eventually towards the Petit Trianon itself, where Miss Moberly saw a woman sketching, crowned by a large white hat. Strangely, as was to become apparent from their later recollections of this bizarre journey, Miss Jourdan did not see this artist, even though she passed right by her. The feeling of gloom became nearly intolerable at this point, and they passed through the little house as quickly as they could, pleased to get away from there, back to their hotel. They subsequently discovered that other people had seen similar glimpses of the past there, always in the month of August, so they surmised they had seen people that were in the grounds 100 years before them. Later, they researched the history of the grounds and discovered, to their amazement, that many of the architectural features they had seen had not existed there for over a century, such as a kiosk and an Anglo-Chinese garden which matched descriptions dating back to the 18th century but had long been gone. Also, they identified the clothes worn by the gardeners as being those worn by staff over 100 years ago, and discovered large rhododendron bushes of many years' growth in the very spot where the lady had been sketching. Skeptics suggest that they actually saw a costume party being held, but dates of such parties do not tally with the date of the lady's visit, and that wouldn't account for them seeing the architectural features, which were no longer in existence. What's this then? Some sort of clock?
A clock in Denver, Colorado, had the alarming habit of stopping whenever its owner died. It stopped at the exact hour and minute of Charles Spellman's death. Then it was passed on to Emerson Spellman, and precisely the same thing happened again. When the clock was given to R.J. Spellman, he must have had half an ear listening constantly for its ticking. But when he could hear it no longer and his time was up, the clock stopped again, at that precise minute.
Maybe it just needed winding every minute. Ah, the moon. Famously baguette-shaped. Some people believe that the moon is far more than a barren ball of rock orbiting our planet. They claim it is an artificial construction, possibly even a giant alien spaceship. The following evidence is cited to support this theory. The moons belonging to the other planets in our solar system have orbits which are elliptical, whereas ours is perfectly circular. This would suggest that the moon was not captured by the Earth's gravitational pull. The side of the moon facing the Earth is the most heavily cratered. This is the opposite of what one would expect. The Earth should shield the moon from meteor impact. Perhaps this impact damage happened further out in space? Some of the rocks found on the moon's surface are thousands of years younger than the soil surrounding them. Enjoy the lurk, man. The composition of the moon is completely different to that of Earth's, so could not have been formed from earthly particles. The far side of the moon, which we can't see from the Earth, has a large bulge which could have been caused by the strain of resisting the Earth's gravitational pull. The moon should have been pulled into the Earth's gravity thousands of years ago. Structures have been reported to appear and disappear on the moon's surface over time. The surface layers of the moon are abnormally radioactive. The moon appears to have great internal strength and willpower. The moon would seem to contain enormous bands of iron, and possibly other metals, in bars up to 1,000 kilometers long. Some scientists have speculated that the moon is hollow, suggesting a protective inner hull. The moon suffers from massive internal vibrations and tremors that last for hours. Because of this exact position and size of the moon, it is exactly equal in size to the sun's disk, therefore blanking out the sun totally during a solar eclipse. Earth is the only planet where this occurs. last one, I reckon. Space capsule. I think I have to click on a thing. The idea that there might be life on the moon has been popular with writers for many years, but now that man has visited it, we know that it's nothing more than a desolate, lifeless ball of rock. Or is it? Yes, it is. UFOlogists would have us believe that we're visited by hundreds, if not thousands, of alien spacecraft every year, but astronauts never seem to see them. Or do they? No, they don't. It has been claimed that even since the first manned space missions, the astronauts have not been alone out there, and many seem quite willing to tell of their experiences. This file looks at some of their stories. At no time, when the astronauts were in space, were they alone. There was a constant surveillance by UFOs. Scott Carpenter, NASA. Major Gordon Cooper, one of the original Mercury astronauts, was the first to report a UFO sighting. On May the 15th, 1963, he set off on a 22-orbit journey, and it was during the final orbit that strange events took place. Muchia Tracking Station, near Perth, Australia, received reports from Major Cooper that he had witnessed a glowing green object ahead of him, approaching his capsule at high speed. He described the UFO as solid. His sighting was corroborated by radar signals at the tracking station. Reporters awaiting Major Cooper's landing were instructed not to question him about the UFO, even though NBS, National Broadcast Company, which had been covering each stage of the mission, had reported his sighting as it occurred during the flight. Major Cooper made the following testimony before the United Nations. I believe that these extraterrestrial vehicles and their crews are visiting this planet from other planets. Most astronauts were reluctant to discuss UFOs. I did have occasion in 1951 to have 2 days of observation of many flights of them, of different sizes, flying in fighter formation, generally from east to west over Europe. In a taped interview with J.L. Fernando, Major Cooper stated, For many years I have lived with a secret, in a secrecy imposed on all specialists in astronautics. I can now reveal that every day in the USA, our radar instruments capture objects of form and composition unknown to us. And there are thousands of witness reports and quantity of documents to prove this, but nobody wants to make them public. Why? Because authority is afraid that people may think of God knows what kind of horrible invaders. So the password still is, we have to avoid panic by all means. I was furthermore a witness to an extraordinary phenomenon here on this planet Earth. It happened a few months ago in Florida. There I saw with my own eyes a defined area of ground being consumed by flames, with 4 indentations left by a flying object which had descended in the middle of a field. Beings had left the craft. There are other traces to prove this. They seemed to have studied topography. They had collected soil samples, and eventually they returned to where they had come from, disappearing at enormous speed. I happen to know that authority did just about everything to keep this incident from the press and TV, in a fear of panicky reaction from the public. NASA pilot Joseph Walker claimed that on the 11th of May 1962 that one of his tasks during his X-15 flights was to detect UFOs. He believes that he filmed 5 or 6 UFOs in April 1962 whilst making his record-breaking 50-mile high flight. While speaking at the Second National Conference on the Peaceful Uses of Space Research in Seattle, Washington, he stated, "I don't feel like speculating about them. All I know is what appeared on film, which was developed later after the flight." Ed White, the first American to walk in space, reported, along with fellow astronaut James McDivitt, a sighting from their Gemini capsule in June 1965. They were passing over Hawaii when they saw a strange-looking metallic object with long arms sticking out of it. It is claimed that McDivitt took pictures with his Cine camera, but these have never been officially released. In December 1965, James Lovell and Frank Borman reported witnessing a UFO during the second orbit of their record-breaking 14-day Gemini flight. Having made the report, Borman was told he was mistaken by Gemini Control at Cape Kennedy, and that what he had seen was in fact the final stage of their own Titan booster rocket. However, Borman argued that he could see the booster rocket, but he could also see something completely different. It is claimed that the astronauts of Apollo 10 were witnesses to a UFO sighting on the moon. They also allegedly experienced strange noises, beeps, etc., which actually interfered with their communications with Mission Control. Just before splashdown in the Pacific, the astronauts reported seeing another UFO over Burma. The most amazing of all these claims must be the claims following Neil Armstrong's historic landing on the moon. Armstrong maintains there is an alien base on the moon. He further claims that this is the reason NASA has ceased its lunar missions, having been told they were not welcome on the moon. Allegedly, both Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin saw UFOs shortly after their historic moon landing on Apollo 11 on the 21st of July, 1969. Nice. The details of their encounter have never been officially released because of national security implications. However, Otto Binder, fellow NASA employee, says that radio hams with their own VHF receiving equipment access the communications. What's there? Mission Control calling Apollo 11. Apollo 11. These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh my God! You wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecraft out there, lined up on the far side of the crater edge. They're on the moon watching us. The following exchange took place between Neil Armstrong and an unnamed professor during a NASA symposium. I love symposia. What really happened out there with Apollo 11? It was incredible, of course. We had always known there was a possibility. The fact is, we were warned off by the aliens. There was never any question then of a space station or a moon city. How do you mean, warned off? I can't go into details, except to say that their ships were far superior to ours, both in size and technology. Boy, they were big and menacing. No, there is no question of a space station. But NASA had other missions after Apollo 11. Naturally, NASA was committed at that time and couldn't risk panic on Earth. But it really was a quick scoop and back again. Armstrong's claims were confirmed in 1979 by Maurice Chatelain, former chief of NASA Communication Systems. Chatelain said that Armstrong had reported seeing 2 UFOs on the rim of a crater and felt himself that the UFOs may even come from within our own solar system, specifically Titan. The encounter was common knowledge in NASA, but no one has talked about it until now. Armstrong has confirmed the story is true, but refused to talk about it further, except to imply that the CIA was behind the cover-up. Buzz Aldrin was soon complaining bitterly about having been used by NASA as a traveling salesman. Just 2 years after his moonwalk, following reported bouts of heavy drinking, he was admitted into hospital suffering from emotional depression. Is there any other kind? Apollo 15 broadcast back to Earth on the 7th of March 1971 that a signal had indicated a wind of water had just swept across the moon. What could be the explanation behind a cloud of water vapor measuring 100 square miles? Searching for an explanation, NASA scientists speculated that the vapor cloud could have been an astronaut's urine, which had dumped into the lunar skies. However, 2 Rice University physicists from the superthermal ion detectors team, whose detectors had indicated the discovery, noted that the 2 detectors were located 180 kilometers apart. This led them to the conclusion that the water must have come from inside the moon, findings that were confirmed by the University of Cambridge lunar science team. If the water had originated from the moon, the finding would be of great importance. Dr. Farrokh Elbaz, a lunar expert and then leading NASA geologist, went as far as to say, if water vapor is coming from inside the moon must be hollow. Eugene Cernan, commander of Apollo 17, said in a Los Angeles Times article about UFOs written in 1973, "I've been asked about UFOs, and I've said publicly I thought they, UFOs, were somebody else, some other civilization." Other NASA employees, not just astronauts, are willing to talk about their experiences and confirm allegations that have been made. These corroborative stories provide important background information. NASA stated that the sightings made by our Apollo astronauts must remain in the category of UFOs. No Russian or American spacecraft can move that fast, either on or near the moon. Some NASA employees are prepared to make statements involving alleged cover-ups. Maurice Chatelain, former chief of NASA Communication Systems. All Apollo and Gemini flights were followed, both at a distance and sometimes also quite closely, by space vehicles of extraterrestrial origin, flying saucers or UFOs if you want to call them by that name. Every time it occurred, the astronauts informed Mission Control, who then ordered absolute silence. I think that Walter Schirra aboard Mercury 8 was the first of the astronauts to use the code name Santa Claus to indicate the presence of flying saucers next to space capsules. However, his announcements were barely noticed by the general public. It was a little different when James Lovell on board the Apollo 8 command module came out from behind the moon and said for everybody to hear, "Please be informed that there is a Santa Claus." Even though this happened on Christmas Day, 1968, many people sensed a hidden meaning in those words. According to Robert Dean, a popular UFO researcher and lecturer, there are aliens mining the moon. They have bases on the moon. All of our astronauts know it, and many are having nervous breakdowns. The guys are being forced by the government to keep the greatest secret of our time. Well, that certainly is a pretty big secret, and definite evidence of the cover-up, in that there is no evidence of the cover-up. Wow. Really makes you think. But I think for now I am depleted, and I must pass this on to another streamer somewhere else in twitch.television to entertain you all while I have a bit of a rest. Let's remember to save. And then find someone to raid and part ways. Thank you so much everyone for being here. It's always very pleasant to have people around while I play these old games and things. We can share the experience together. Now I do have a bit of a dilemma because there are so many amazing streamers out there. But I think where we will go is we'll go see Gomitan. Gomitan is another Australian streamer. She is a trash mannequin, VTuber, and She plays a fair range of esoteric games. There's some indie games there's some weird games, and there's some retro games. So at the moment, she's playing West of Loathing, a game based on Kingdom of Loathing, except you are a cowboy, and with her particular character, she can cast spells using beans. So this should be very entertaining for everyone, and I hope you'll join me for the raid, and then I hope you'll have a good rest of your weeks. Here is the oldie raid message. Be it yourself, Neko. Here is a shout out in case you get left behind, because that seems to happen often on Twitch. And there is the actual raid. All right. I'll have to go give Poppy some pats again afterwards. Give her some attention. Maybe she feels ignored when I do this streaming thing. I don't know. Spending too much time on the computer. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Take care of yourselves. Try to get some sleep. I will do the same. And I'll see you next time. Bye, Ampy. Don't be sorry for the lurky lurk. I appreciate everyone being here, even if we're just sort of lurking and listening while I read out these fascinating, very accurate accounts of actual things that definitely exist. Thanks for long stream. Yeah, 3 hours was it? Woo. Bye bye. Take care.